Please welcome today's Grand Marshal and Senior Vice President and General Manager of Specialty Products of NAFTA, Alan Barlow, as he delivers the most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
I got both you guys. Get us the target sign, the 42 car. There's also some orange tape on the wall to the right. That'll be your pit in. Right up back on.
So the engines are fired here at New Hampshire. Kurt Busch's car included. He is strapped aboard that 22 machine. Conclusion of conversation between Roger Penske and NASCAR President Mike Helton just a minute ago. And time to get down to the business at hand, which is racing. In the second race, in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, our in-race reporter is third in the championship starting today, but Carl Edwards has got a lot of work to do. We'll talk to him about it next. Beautiful sunny day here in New Hampshire as we get set for race number 2 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Might get as high as 81 degrees today, and a huge crowd of New England race fans has turned out waiting on these 43 cars to roll out onto this mile racetrack and get this event started. Look at the starting lineup across the top of your screen. Ryan Newman, Rocket Man on the pole, 6th time on the pole at this racetrack, most of anyone ever. Newman going to lead this field to the green flag shortly, and you will see now the rest of the starting lineup for the Sylvania 300 coming across the top of your screen. You got to wait a while on that before you get back to our in-race reporter and the subject of our Gillette Pro Glide profile this week. That's Carl Edwards in the 99. Carl, of course, third in the championship starting the day, but he's got a lot of work to do here in New Hampshire and got to work against his past performance record as well if he's going to score to the W. Our in-race reporter today is about to be on the horn with one Dale Jarrett.
Hey Carl, Dale Jarrett, ESPN. You have a copy?
I got you loud and clear, Dale. How's it going?
It's going great so far, buddy. Our first question comes from our mailbag in Scott in Daytona Beach, Florida. Asks, the 99 team has struggled in the past at New Hampshire. What will you all be doing differently this race to turn it around?
Well, our plan was to start out qualifying, do better there, and here I am. I am starting behind the pace car. The second pace car, though, that's the problem. So what we've got to do today is we've got to have good pit strategy, and we got to capitalize on these track conditions being much hotter and slicker, and hopefully we've adjusted this Scott's Winter Guard Fusion better than our competition.
Hey Carl, speaking of that hot, slick racetrack, probably leads to some contact out there today. You're battling for a championship. How do you balance that and how much you're going to give and how much you may take, and could it depend on who that driver may be?
Well, you never know what's going to happen. It is NASCAR, and there's a lot on the line. But, the biggest trick is to keep our heads cool, not to get too excited. Bob said he's got a couple songs he'll perform if things get too crazy, kind of soothe everybody. So I'm counting on Bob.
Well, that sounds good. Speaking of Bob, we'll let him perform right now as he talks to Andy Peter.
Hey, Bob Osborne, Andy Peter here in the booth. You got us?
Hey, Andy, how you doing?
Hey, pretty good, Bob. This trend this year of all of these races not having as many cautions as before, as we've seen before, how has your job changed with this chase looking like it's going to be strategy? How's your job changed, and how will your job today be different than it was, say, a year ago?
Yeah, you're right there, Andy. We've pretty much thrown all of our notes out from years past on pit strategy and statistics. Based on how all these races have gone, or a lot of the races have gone this year, we're looking at fuel mileage all the time and really planning from the end of the race to the beginning on fuel strategy.
Okay, well, good luck with that, Bob, and maybe we'll talk to you later. If you're taking requests, I might give you one later in the race. Thanks again.
Very much.
Bob Osborne with his work cut out for him today as well on top of that pit box, besides Carl Edwards behind the wheel. So Kurt Busch on the racetrack on the inside of row number 3, buckled aboard that 22 car. And after the car not being cleared of inspection until literally the invocation was beginning, concluding the final pre-race ceremonies, I'm curious if things have calmed down a little bit for this 22 team, Jamie.
Well, Steve Addington is his crew chief, and he's had a lot on his plate. And Steve, we talked about why you guys failed inspection, what you did to fix it. You guys are okay now, but how do you move on, and how does this impact you and your race car and your driver?
It's an issue that we'll just have to deal with later on next week, or first of next week, and move on. We had our race caps on. Our measurements were right. We just had our race caps on, and it threw the gauge off that slides up on the hub. We were 32nd per side. That's not very much, but it showed it. They have reason to be mad. We've been struggling with issues getting through tech here lately, just with measurements and body offset stuff. So we'll get on top of it. We got to move forward here, go racing right now.
It's certainly a concern and something to watch on the 22 car today. Alan?
All right, Jamie, thanks. Those caps are the little hubs on the end of the rear wheels that are used to keep the axles inside the car.
Yeah, they got through tech the first time. They've got a different set on. For the race, they need a different cap so they can index that wheel nice and clean and it doesn't knock the lug nuts off. And, you know, they're pushing everything so close that, you know, you get something like that can throw it off 32nd. And I like I said, I believe they've had a few issues, and NASCAR is just kind of getting a little less tolerant.
All right, so you hear the angst in Steve Addington's voice, but it is time to settle down and get ready because we're half a lap from the start of this race. Track measures just over a mile around, but it is a 300-lap race today, and that calculates out to 317.4 miles. Remember, the winning strategy in the July race here this year was Ryan Newman's team changing their left side tires only once during the day. All the other pit stops were rights. It was about keeping track position, which means being up front. Who's up front when they wave the checkered flag after race number 2 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup? Green flag is out. Leading the first lap of the race. Red Bull Racing side by side for second place. Behind them, Jeff Gordon, a little wiggle and walk there. And cruising through the first lap and a half.
See Kevin Harvick working all over the back bumper, Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, Jeff was really struggling with his race car there too. Really was slow getting off of turn 2. We saw him lock the brakes up going into 1 on the initial start.
Yeah, I saw that smoke that came from Biffle. I thought maybe it was from Harvick.
There's Biffle on the 16, Jeff Gordon 24, and Kurt Busch in that 22 car, looking pretty sporty, although we're just a couple of laps in.
Kevin Harvick, as you said, looking very racy from the very beginning right now.
Here's Casey Kane in the 4, trying to get by his teammate Brian Vickers in the 83 for second spot.
Talked to a lot of people that said this 4 car, Casey Kane, was really good in practice yesterday. It had speed and it had longevity with this setup.
And 3 wide, here comes Kurt Busch down low. Kevin Harvick going to ease in behind Greg Biffle. Make that just double wide into the corner. Smartly so.
See Kurt Busch get a little bit loose there. I'm sure he's kind of taking it easy. Here comes Jimmy Johnson to the inside, trying to take the spot away.
56, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch in the 18, also in the picture there. And that's a race for 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Really seeing these cars sliding around. This is totally different conditions than what they saw here in any of the 3 practice sessions between Friday and Saturday. So there's going to be a lot of adjusting going on when they hit pit road.
You know, we heard Carl Edwards talking about how they had planned on the track being a lot different, but sometimes you just can't predict exactly what the car is going to do when the track does heat up.
A couple things to point out about this racetrack as you watch Dale Earnhardt Jr. try and get a spot on Kyle Busch there. Jr. in the 88, trying to pick up 10th. This racetrack has 2 different levels of banking in the corner. The lowest lane, very, very, very slightly banked. A little more banking a lane up, a little more another lane up from the racetrack.
Yeah, you'd think that would enhance the racing to be a little bit higher. Right now, we're seeing all the cars running way down on the bottom. Some of them actually on the 8, where there's really no banking.
Yeah, they get some laps on the tires and the air pressure build up. We'll see some drivers do what we call diamond it a little bit, slide up in the center, get a better, straighter run off the corner. But you really don't want to get up where that 7 degrees of banking comes into play. That just means you're either dodging something or you're in serious trouble.
They hear about the wreck. There's Monday's winner, Tony Stewart in the 14. Tony came within a lap of winning this race last September. He finished 2nd in the race here in July. but he's starting a lot farther back in traffic, and we've talked all the way through countdown about track position and how important it's going to be.
Tony Stewart, though, seems to be, we hear every driver talk about how difficult it is to pass here. He is one of those drivers, though, that seems to be able to do it with his setup and his ability to make passes, get himself to his own track position by moving forward.
Tony started in 20th position. He's up to 16th right now. The car that he is the co-owner of, the 39 of Brian Newman. This led every lap so far from the pole. That 4 car of Casey Kane is staying right with him now. Actually, it's closed in a little bit on him.
He's getting a little bigger in that mirror, Brian. Casey Kane's car looks very, very strong. He's been the fastest car on the track the last 3 or 4 laps.
Talk about guys in the championship, guys not. If you're one of those not in the championship, what's the best way to grab some spotlight?
Yeah, go win. Yeah, but you know, we've seen this, and we'll have to watch this throughout the day. We've seen Casey Kane with this team be strong at the beginning of races. As they go in, make pit stops, adjust, lose a little track position, don't seem to be able to recover. Hopefully that's not the case today.
So, Newman and Kane, 39 and 4. Top 2, Jeff Gordon is 3rd. And we're caution-free through the opening laps of chase race number 2 at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, the Sylvania 300. Looking at the race for the lead at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, Brian Newman, Casey Kane running 1 and 2 with that much space over Jeff Gordon, who runs 3rd, caution-free through the opening 15 laps. Join Goodyear in saluting America's armed forces and give back by helping support our troops. Visit Goodyear.com/support our troops to learn more. So while Ryan Newman has led every lap so far in this race, one of the early stories on the day was Kurt Busch's car being late getting through tech inspection and getting to the grid. And now, since the drop of the green flag, that 22 car sliding back some from the 5th position where it started now to running in the 10th position after 16 laps, Jamie.
Well, as crew chief Steve Addington just told us, they had to make some adjustments to make it through tech inspection, and so far, Kurt Busch is not impressed.
Absolutely nothing. Plows getting in, plows through the center, plows going to pick up the gas, snaps dead sideways, loose off. Got nothing. Absolutely nothing.
They have not been happy with their car all weekend. Steve Addington on the left-hand side of the screen told me this morning they were taking a big swing at it. Unfortunately for them, it was too big of a swing. And for more on that, let's go to the Craftsman Tech Garage and Tim Brewer.
Jamie, what they're referring to is the side-to-side. You've got a center line that comes from the center of the car, and they want the housing set in the center, but they give you a little bit of variance. But we usually measure it off the wheel, but in this case, we'll measure from the brake rotor over. But how you manipulate that is this turnbuckle right here. This is a track bar. You can actually rotate that track bar and move the rear end from side to side. But guys, a 32nd of an inch, I don't believe I'd be arguing too much about that. That's not going to solve all his problems. Guys?
All right, Tim, thanks. That leads the question I would pose to follow up on all this to Dale and Andy, which is 22 sliding back in the early laps. Do we read into that they had to change something in their setup from the tech inspection line, or just that the weather conditions have changed and they might not have hit on the plan yet?
Well, even if that weather condition hadn't changed, they could still be having these problems. And if they hadn't had to adjust in tech, I'm with Tim. 32nd of an inch is not enough to make them have problems like they're having. They've just got to settle in here, get the car adjusted. We've seen that in this car before, where he's complaining about it, the car will do anything he wants it to do, but then they can turn it around.
Yeah, and I don't think, we're talking about 5 spots that he's falling back. So I'm not alarmed with that right now. See Clint Boyer, former winner here, trying to take that 10th spot away. I look for him before this day's over to be up battling for the lead.
In fact, all the Richard Childress Racing cars had a lot of confidence in my trip through the garage area this morning, because they took the setup from this 33 car of Boyer's and put it in their cars. Talking to Slugger Lammy, the crew chief for Paul Menard, and I know Jeff Burton coming into the picture there as well. Really on a lot of people's minds as someone who had the potential to run well here. And there's Burton in that 31 car trying to take a spot from Kyle Busch.
Yeah, and that all sounds like, okay, why aren't they all up there running? But I think a lot of it has to do with Clint Boyer's driving style at this particular track. And so you may have to adjust on the car a little bit, but that gives you a good baseline to go, especially if he was the leader of that group.
So Jeff Burton there, climbing up into the 12th position.
Yeah, Burton's a 4-time winner here, so you got to give him a little weight to what he may say about a setup too.
Second race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Just underway at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. There's the race for the lead. Ryan Newman started on pole, led every lap so far, but we've only run 23 of the 300. Casey Kane chasing close behind in second spot. No caution so far. 3 cars have gone to the garage area early in the going. Casey Mears, Josh Wise, and Travis Quapple have all gone back behind the wall. And again, stories on the day. First of all, the weather's beautiful. Which is a change from the recent past for these Sprint Cup Series races. Seems like we've found a lot of weather in the last month and a half. Second of all, that because the weather conditions have changed, these teams are going to have their hands full adjusting the race cars and keeping on top of things when they're only going to get a couple of cracks at a pit stop during this fairly short race.
Don't get many chances to work on it. And I'm looking at these lap times, and they're so close. I mean, the most you can help your car might be a tenth of a second. Well, there's hardly any difference in the top 25 cars running right now. The big thing is track position, where you get your car out of the pits and how you line up on these race cars.
Now, track position, you want to be up front, right? Well, Friday there was some rain interrupting qualifying with only 5 cars to go. Juan Pablo Montoya earned that late draw in qualifying by being one of the fastest cars in practice. He was the first guy out onto the racetrack after the end of the rain and the track drying process, and he did not get a good starting spot. In fact, qualified back in 31st. He's on the move in the early going, picked up more spots than anybody so far in the race.
Yeah, they'll hope that he can do that on the racetrack as the handling goes away with some of these other cars. He can move forward then, and he's going to need to have a good pit stop and help him out there. But he does have time. If you have a good race car, you can make it happen. Montoya's really been good at these flatter racetrack. What's he saying today, Doc?
Well, they warned him this morning in a little bit of a team meeting, said, you know, we don't have a good starting spot. You guys explained why back in 31st. Said, but Juan, I know you have problems with being patient, but listen, don't rub the fenders and nose off the car. Don't burn up the brakes. Be persistent and methodical, but let us get track position with pit strategy. You can pass them, but don't use up the car. Looks like he's being fairly patient and still making passes, guys.
Yeah, patience is going to be a must today for Montoya to chip his way through and try and let the crew help him get some of that track position back that they weren't able to get in qualifying on Friday. Leader Ryan Newman has caught the tail end of the field and has gotten into some lap traffic. Right now, we have pretty much a lot of single file racing back through the front of the field. And you look back through some of the top 10 runners. Just outside the top 10, Kurt Busch, who was faded back from 5th starting position after his car late getting to the grid after some tech inspection problems. Race fans, check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy to watch coverage live from New Hampshire. Follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. Perhaps this is one of them. Out the back bumper of Ryan Newman's car, the race leader looking back at second place Casey Kane, working down these long straightaways and into the flat corners of New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Let's touch on a couple of stories in the field, beginning with Jamie, who has got an update on Casey Kane.
For the 3rd time, Alan, he started from the 2nd position, and as he continues to chip away at leader Ryan Newman, he says he's loose in the front and he still feels like the rear end is stepping out of the racetrack. However, he said the closer he gets to the 39, the tighter he gets, so that seems to be helping his issue. Vince?
The 24 of Jeff Gordon needs to have a bounce-back weekend after dropping 8 positions, now 11th in points. How is the car? Well, it depends on how Jeff Gordon drives it. Listen.
Out of my tightness, I'm just not able to carry enough speed in there to stay on the brakes. And so I'm having to come off the brakes. And then it lifts the nose. It makes me tight. When I can stay on the brakes, I'm pretty good.
Gordon suggests that maybe they take a little wedge out of the car on that first pit stop. Dave?
Clint Boyer's running in the 10th position, Vince. That's just one better than where he started. I asked crew chief Shane Wilson this morning if last year's winning car here that led 177 laps was as good. He said really on overall speed and balance we're just a little bit off, but the fall off from the start of the run to the end of the run is as good or better. Right now his car just a little bit loose. That's Clint Boyer. Doc?
Kyle Busch started 8th today. He's accustomed to going forward when the green flag waves. That's not happened today. He is running 12th right now and not very happy at all. Listen in.
Plowing center, spinning out a pump. Just normal. Not doing anything like it was yesterday. Traction. I don't see other people having a bigger problem. Must have made better decisions this morning, I guess.
Well, Kyle Busch dominated the NASCAR Camping World Truck Race here yesterday, getting his 30th win there, and he had a very good Cup car in final practice. He said, this track and my car are not even close to what they were yesterday. But guys, it's also about 18 degrees warmer than it was at midday yesterday.
Well, just looking where he's only running, looks like 12th right now. It's not, like I said, it's not terrible, but it's not doing what he wants. They have plenty of time to adjust on it.
Yeah, and I'm sure this is a different racetrack. And as you see, Casey Kane, we've seen him run up to the bumper of Ryan Newman. Even though this is a 1 mile racetrack, we talk about flat, you still have a lot of speed. And these drivers tell me that one of the things that makes it difficult to pass, they lose the front end. It becomes aero sensitive when they get this close to the other car and they can't get it to turn quite as good.
One of the things I've noticed about this track over the years is it's one of the most aerodynamic dependent racetracks that we go to. Even though it is relatively slow and it's a 1 mile track, you wouldn't think so. But you really rely on those aerodynamic forces, you know, downforce and side force to make time around this track.
Less banking to lean on for mechanical purposes to get through the corners. You need to try and compensate any way you can. Right?
That's exactly right. You're trying to lean on the aerodynamic side of it because you don't have the mechanical and the banking and all that to lean on.
Just put Mike Bliss a lap down in the 32, and in that traffic, Jeff Gordon is closed in on the top 2.
Yeah, I heard Jeff when he was complaining about his car, but his car really does look good. I don't know if he did adjust his driving style a little bit and made it better, but he's definitely catching his top 2.
So Newman, Kane, and Gordon, the lead trio, caution-free so far at the Hampshire Motor Speedway in the Sylvania 300. Live NASCAR racing now from New Hampshire here on ESPN. Later on tonight, the AAA Texas NHRA Fall Nationals come up on ESPN2 at 7 Eastern Time. And our Monday Roundtable wraps up the weekend's action in New Hampshire at 2:30 Eastern on ESPN on Monday's NASCAR Now. Next weekend, it's on to the Monster Mile. Nationwide Series back in action Saturday, 3 Eastern ESPN2, and Race 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup next Sunday, 1 Eastern from the Monster Mile in Dover on ESPN. We'll hope the weather there is just like the weather here in New Hampshire. It is a beautiful sunny day in New England, and the race for the lead looking right there. Ryan Newman 39, Casey Kane 4, Jeff Gordon 24. Kane was as close as a car length off of Newman's back bumper, but he's lost a little ground in some of the traffic that the leaders have come up on.
A lot of it depends on where you catch this traffic and where it breaks your momentum a little bit, and that's how Casey Kane, you see him slide off of turn 4, is able to get a little bit closer to Ryan Newman. As they don't have traffic, though, Newman's a little bit better.
Jeff Gordon with a peak for second, while Dale Earnhardt Jr. picks up another spot. That's going to be 8th position on Martin Truex. Now, Dale Jr. had the great finish in the Chicagoland race on Monday. Had the fuel to make it to the finish, and some people said, well, he still hasn't shown me he's got the speed. We kind of disagree with that he's shown us some speed on Monday at Chicago, and he's certainly showing it today.
Yeah, myself, I was much more impressed with this race team at Chicago than what I'd seen in the past. They were actually able to help Dale Jr.'s car become better. He marched his way forward throughout the day. Yeah, it might have only been 1 or 2 spots every once in a while, but a very different race team right now.
And now bottled up in some traffic. That's Dave Blaney in the 36 car the leaders have caught. Blaney, the 31st place car, trying to fight to stay on the lead lap. And Jeff Gordon is starting to maybe look a little antsy there from 3rd place.
It's allowed Casey Kane to move back up again. Right, they're really struggling to get around Dave Blaney here. Yeah, a little bump there. Yeah, that's the way that you get here.
Yeah, okay, I'm here.
Here I come.
He's going to open the door. Now looks like Casey will be able to get by cleanly. This might hurt Gordon a little bit, though.
And driver etiquette, it's not like Blaney's doing anything wrong. He's trying to stay on the lead lap.
No, that's a race. That's exactly right. He's doing everything. And Newman did nothing wrong, too, by just giving a little bit of a bump just to loosen him up for a split second.
And so now Jeff Gordon is going to find a way around that 36 car to stay in contact with the top two.
You see Blaney getting off corner really strong. That's just making him hard to pass.
See, just in that little bit of time with Gordon getting caught back there, not able to make that move, he's already lost quite a bit of time.
Little contact here, racing around some lap traffic and racing for fourth place. Greg Biffle trying to get underneath Brian Vickers for the spot, 16 and 83.
Yeah, very difficult position right there. Getting down in the corner, see Vickers didn't give Biffle much room. Easy to lose the back end of your car right there to take both cars out.
Talked about this being a frustrating place for a driver sometimes, right? Biffle had to run underneath him, but couldn't have the grip in that lane with less banking to make it stick. So the Sheriff Vickers holds on to fourth. The Biff hangs on to fifth. Ryan Newman has led all the laps so far. Caution free in the Sylvania 300 at New Hampshire. Looking at the race for the lead in the Sylvania 300 at New Hampshire, Ryan Newman, Casey Kane. It's kind of been the story for about the last 50 laps. Kane is able to get close, but not able to get by the 39 car. Let's take a look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Ryan Newman has led all the laps, but Casey Kane has driven the fastest lap time so far. Newman, of course, with the track record for here in New Hampshire. No wonder. The Rocket Man, all those pole positions here, get closer. And Jimmy Johnson, the Swoop fans voted for us to go on board with and ride along with. So here's the Evo Cam and Jimmy Johnson. Sprint.com/speed is where you can vote on that. Get closer to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with unlimited access to highlights, news, and more at sprint.com/speed. Jamie McMurray was on pit road a couple of laps ago. Now Paul Menard, David Reagan, and others making green flag pit stops here as the lead changes hands.
Finally paid off for Casey Kane. He dogged him for quite a few laps and finally got him.
Pit stops, Jamie.
And David Reagan in the sixth, you see the team working on the left-hand side. He said he was loose, but like many of these drivers said, it was getting better as they went. They'll fill it up with Sunoco fuel and 4 tires down and away. Casey Kane on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, right when he took the lead, he gets a point. I believe he led 1 complete lap. Casey Kane, though, they said not getting the best of fuel mileage, so they knew they were going to have to be one of the first ones down pit road. He's saying the car is getting better. He was loose early, but tight in traffic. Let's go over to Dave.
Clint Boyer made his way up to 9th. They are going to go down to the track bar, 4 tire change, full of Sunoco fuel. His car just a little bit loose. That's the first Childress car to hit pit road. Actually, the second one, Jamie.
And Casey Kane's team continues to work. They made track bar, wedge, air pressure adjustment, all for Casey Kane. It was a good stop. He's down and away, Alan.
And once the cycle has begun, the cycle will pick up speed. Ryan Newman still on track, but Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, and more on pit road. Dave?
Kevin Harvick had been running in the 6th position. They'll take air out of the front tires to help his car turn better in the center of the corner. Jimmy Johnson is in as well. It'll be a wedge and air pressure adjustment for Johnson. His car was mostly tight here on lap 62. Jamie?
And Carl Edwards made his way onto pit road, said he's just a little loose through the middle. Air pressure adjustment and 4 tires for the 99. And I know the 22 and 2 getting ready to come as well.
Jeff Gordon with a bonus point for leading a lap during the cycle of pit stops as Ryan Newman gives up the lead and comes to pit road. Doc, he's got to dodge Carl Edwards there.
And he just gets by. Carl goes up and he comes to the left and gets in his pit stop. Ryan Newman said the car's pretty good, a little bit loose on entry, a little tight in the middle, a little loose off quarter-pound air pressure left rear. Going to get it full of fuel. Oh, they have a problem with the air hose in the left front. He got hung on the fender. check out on the 22, Jamie.
And this is what Kurt Busch needed. Needed some adjustments to make this car better. Set of plows everywhere, no speed, center off, 4 tires, rubber in the right rear, and in there, pressure adjustment. Vince?
For Jeff Gordon in the 24, they're going to put a round and a half in the right rear. It's a little loose getting in and way too tight through the center toward the end of that run for Gordon. It's a 4-tire change for the 24.
So Regan Smith, not yet having pitted, is the new leader of the race. And after Smith comes down pit road, that's going to pretty much wrap up the cycle of pit stops among the front runners.
Yeah, but Ryan Newman with that problem lost a lot of time to Casey Kane, who had just taken the lead from him. So we'll have a big change there. Matter of fact, Jeff Gordon both beat Ryan Newman out of the pits. Casey Kane's team had a great pit stop, got him way out in front. Now in second place, looks like it's going to be Brian Vickers. Yeah, Vickers had a good stop. He's actually in front of Jeff Gordon on the track now.
And here comes Smith to complete the cycle of pit stops. And headed down the pit lane to the attention of his crew, turning the lead back over to Casey Kane. So Smith staying on the racetrack about 4 more laps, more than a lot of the front runners, Doc.
And they have worked really hard on their program here on flat 1-mile racetracks. Said it was a focus of their whole team in the offseason. Back in July here, they were actually running 11th with 3 laps to go and ran out of gas and finished 33rd. Very pleased. The car a little bit snug in the middle. Air pressure change. Got to get it full of Sunoco fuel. But a very good run. Big improvement for this team here at New Hampshire.
So there is your leader, right side of the screen, Casey Kane, after the exchange of green flag pit stops. Out in front now of Brian Vickers, Jeff Gordon, Greg Biffle, and the guy who led almost all the laps in the race up to the point of that pit stops, Ryan Newman, is now back in 5th.
13 seconds behind the leaders. Lost a lot of time on that round.
Ouch. Jeff Gordon trying to pass Brian Vickers for 2nd.
Brian Vickers pitted about 3 laps before Jeff Gordon. That got him a little bit more track position because he had better tires for a few laps, but now Jeff Gordon's coming back with his tires. Looks like he's going to get that 2nd spot.
And Greg Biffle right there in the picture, 16.
Yeah, we haven't had a chance a lot of times to talk about Greg Biffle and this team, but this weekend they've actually shown speed, and Greg seemed to be pretty excited about his chances here today. We've seen him win here.
So Gordon to 2nd, Vickers left to defend 3rd from Greg Biffle. And up front now, after the first round of pit stops, it is Casey Kane trying to pull off a win, get something positive going at the end of what's been kind of a frustrating season for the 4.
New Hampshire Motor Speedway hosting chase race number 2, but it is a guy who could play spoiler today, Casey Kane, who is out front. We're 74 laps in, and we just saw our first round of pit stops. So it's time for the AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award. The fastest pit crew is determined by the winner of each race, the fastest pit time, and then the fans vote. Be sure to text the car number to 234-567 for your pit crew choice. Ryan out on the track, battling the 2 teammates, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Jimmy Johnson. That is for 8th position.
I'll tell you, he's been running better and better. He qualified 12th. He's been knocking them off one by one. He's up to the 8th place right now, getting past his teammate right there. Incredible run out of Junior so far, getting past the 5-time champion Jimmy Johnson. He's got a good run. He's got the car handled well, Brad.
Yeah, very consistent all day long, maintaining track position. Got a good fast race car. Steve Letart's giving him a good platform to race with today. He could be a big factor come into the day.
Junior goes to 8th. Jimmy Johnson goes to 9th. Just a few spots ahead of them, you'll find Ryan Newman. Ryan Newman led 62 laps earlier today until they came down for their pit stop. And Rusty, it was not a good stop. Take a listen to this.
About to stop, we had the hose get hung on the right front there. Be fine. That's where I saw it.
Boy, take a look at that, guys. A big loss right there, about a 5-second loss in the pit stop. You got to remember, he was running 2nd when he hit pit road, really close to Casey Kane. Right now, he's over 8.5 seconds behind. Brad, that was a big loss in the pits. But he's not out of it. That's
no,
for
he's
sure.
not out of it. When he's been able to get out front, he's a half second quicker than the field. He'll get back up there. That cord got caught. Hose got hooked over the splitter. Happens sometimes. Just one of those
It was
things.
almost a double whammy for that 39 crew because coming in, they had to get out of the way of the 99 car. Here it is. They lost 3 positions, and you see why. The left tire took about 2 seconds longer.
He's flying. He is absolutely one of the top 3 fastest cars on the racetrack right now. He'll get back up there.
He was the pole sitter. He was the pole sitter here before. He knows his way around the track. And it's not like they lost that much track position.
Not worried.
Ryan Newman running now in 4th. Alan.
All right, Nicole, thanks. Newman went from a 1/10 of a second lead to being 6.5 seconds behind by that little snag on the pit stop. As you watch some pretty good racing here, Brian Vickers, remember we saw him racing for second just after the pit stops. At 83 cars, kind of falling back. Here he's racing for 6th place with Clint Boyer.
Yeah, Boyer, you see right there, the 83 get really loose right in the center of the corner. That allows Clint Boyer finally to get by. He'd been working him for about 5 laps. But looks like Vickers is struggling just a little bit with that 83 car. Vince?
And they made an air pressure change, also a track bar adjustment on that first pit stop. But Brian says those changes helped it some, but he still can't get on the throttle coming off the turns. And if you can't drive off the corner here and somebody behind you can, you're not in very good shape.
Kind of guessing, especially at a track with long straightaways like this, if you can't get on the throttle off the corner, it's going to be a problem.
I hear somebody that can. Dale Jr.'s car looks really good today. Since his chase has started, his car has really been going forward the whole time. In Chicago, it was going forward. Today, we see him going forward. I like what I see out of this team right now.
Even though we talked about the 83 car being a little bit slow there, you can see he's able to get off there good enough just to hold these guys up a little bit. And here comes Junior. See if he can make the pass. It took Boyer quite a while to make this.
And again, this for 7th place here. As Junior gets the low lane on Brian Vickers. By the way, Dale Jr. with more top 5s in chase races here at New Hampshire than anybody else. Been a pretty good track for him, which is interesting because, you know, they picked up 3 spots in the final lap Monday at Chicagoland. So they went from 6th to 3rd, right? Said this week here at New Hampshire that was a pretty significant impact that they made last week, but now they need to keep that momentum going. As Dave Blaney has some trouble in that 36 car.
He may be blowing up. What he's got? What kind of problem he's got?
They are going up the hood on that 26 car, so yeah, something underneath.
Get back to Junior. You know, he said that he made those spots up at the end of the race at Chicago, but the other thing I saw at Chicago is that car was going forward. I mean, it really was. They passed a lot of cars, and they were going to get a good finish regardless of how the strategy worked out. But they seem to have the speed right now to be competitive.
And I guess where I was going with that is so much angst over just getting into the chase and how, frankly, poorly they ran all summer long, right? They got into the chase. They had the great race right off the start. And Junior said, okay, gave us some momentum. We made an impact in the championship. Now we got to keep it going.
Here they go.
And they are. That's Mark Hollywood Armstrong, our over-the-wall reporter, rear tire changer for that 36 car, and that's not a view you want to be having. Is looking up under the hood when you're a tire changer.
That car painted up in honor of Richie Evans, the great modified champion, and will be going into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in January.
9-time champion. Amazing. The rapid
Roman watch today, Tony Stewart. He's making his way forward after the pit stop, trying to get himself up into the top 10 now.
Tony started back in 20th position.
That's pretty significant. You look at, we've run 86 laps. He's cut that in half of getting himself into the top 10 in less than 100 laps. So things must be going the way that he wants.
Caution is out. Looks like they might have been something dropped in turn 1 off of one of the cars, so debris on the racetrack.
Well, I'm not sure that wasn't maybe for some oil on the racetrack from that 36 car, because he had something definitely coming out of it. Somebody might have been complaining about it.
But it is first yellow of the flag, past the quarter distance in this already, and sets up strategy that we'll talk about here in a second. First, caution giving David Reagan The Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. First driver a lap down. Now he gets back on the lead lap. Reagan in 26th position. So Andy, since everybody was just on pit road 20 laps ago, probably not going to see very many four-tire changes here, are we?
I doubt you see any four-tire changes, really.
Question is, do we see some people just take the fuel only?
That could be a possibility right here. Might even see some of them stay out.
Let's find out. Pit road is open. Leaders coming in.
Looks like they're all coming. Let's see what they do when they get here. Dave?
Kevin Harvick is going to give up the 5th position. They were discussing they're only going over the wall with 2 tires on the 29 car. Vince.
The 24 of Jeff Gordon, right side tires only, still too tight in the center. They're going to make a track bar adjustment. Jamie.
Upper right-hand side, Casey Kane was your leader. Right tires only. Track bar adjustment down. He goes up with Snuggle Fuel, Doc.
Right lower corner, Ryan Newman, 2 tires. They waved off the track bar to get him off pit road. 6.3 seconds, and Kane and Gordon both beat him off.
A strategy smorgasbord. Do you remember what a smorgasbord is?
Yeah, I guess those crew chiefs do pay attention to what happened in the last race, right?
But a couple guys didn't pit. Have a new leader when we come back. Getting ready to restart the Sylvania 300 at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, just about at the 1/3 mark of the race. Round of pit strategy here. Almost everybody got just right side tires that came down pit road, but those first 2 cars behind the pace car didn't come down pit road. Mark Martin in the 5 is the leader. Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 is second. Montoya, little wide.
Wide, they're 3 wide coming off of turn 2.
Yeah, I saw Kyle Busch make it 3 wide in the middle coming off of turn 2.
Looked like Greg Biffle slipped a little bit and stacked everything up. Kyle wasn't ready to come out of the throttle.
We talked about races getting physical. This would be a good opportunity.
When it starts happening.
Kevin Harvick, 29. Greg Biffle, 16. 6th and 7th places, while Casey Kane goes after Montoya for 2nd place. Couldn't quite make it stick off turn number 2. Now, I'm talking about a good opportunity for it to happen. Obviously, Montoya's struggling a little bit on the older tires than these guys who at least have the fresher right sides. People are going to run out of patience here, right?
Well, they will, and I'm not sure. It actually will take a couple of laps for these right side tires, I think, to catch up and be as good. The 42 and the 5, the air pressure is up. It's just a matter if you get them cleaned off good enough. But Montoya's car is not bad. We've seen him run really well here, but 3 wide here. I don't like my position on the outside if I'm Brian Vickers in this racetrack.
He's not giving, though. He's racing him hard on the outside.
It's like Tony Stewart slid back and said, I can't make that work. All right, let's mention as Kane goes after Montoya for 2nd again. Montoya was 25th at the yellow. Mark Martin was 22nd. So, in the track position game...
Well, this just shows you what track positions work. Mark Martin is out front by 1.5 seconds. I mean, that's just nothing but just getting out of the clean air. These cars are so close together. That's why they're trying to steal track position, and that's why these restarts are so crazy, to try to, gain those spots while you can.
And we watch Stewart and Vickers here, 14.83 for 13th and 14th places. Jeff Burton trying to go through there as well, 31.
Comes Kane once again trying to make this where I believe he's going to be able to clear and get in. Puts a slide job on Montoya there.
Jeff Gordon.
Comes Newman, going to take advantage of that also and go by Montoya.
Just trying to make sure for myself that was Kevin Harvick's 29 car that was racing Gordon, which is why I hesitated. Harvick with the black paint scheme for today. Race fans, check out NASCAR.com/RaceBuddy. Watch coverage live from New Hampshire. Follow your favorite drivers for free with 8 live camera views. As you see different paint this weekend. The big words splashed across the hood, designated driver.
These teams watch Mark Martin get out front here. Got to be thinking about maybe taking just gas only if they need to get gas, or staying out if they can. This is definitely working for the 5 team.
Thinking confirmed from pit road by Dave with Mark Martin's crew chief.
Yep, with Lance McGrew right now. Lance, how long can this strategy for staying out help you today?
Well, I mean, you don't get very many opportunities to get a lot of track position in these races. We're kind of hovering around 20th. Our car's pretty good, but we're having trouble passing cars. Stick them out front, let's see how good it really is.
Right now, when will you have to pit again?
We're getting exceptional fuel mileage, so we figure we're still probably only about 10 laps short of our teammates.
10-4, that's Lance McGrew, and he'll try that as long as they can, Alan. It's worked so far. Great free air.
All right, Dave, thanks. So the thinking from Mark Martin's team on not pitting. Montoya, 42, the other one who did not pit, now getting shuffled back a bit. Casey Kane went through, Ryan Newman went through, Jeff Gordon has gone through, and now Harvick in the 29.
Yeah, and this kind of shows maybe the difference in how that strategy can work. Maybe Montoya's car not handling quite as well, so he's a losing spot where Mark Martin was able to really get going well on that restart and get himself a comfortable spot up in the front.
And behind him, Greg Biffle, 16. Hunting under Jimmy Johnson, and Biffle in the 7th spot, Johnson in 8th, and he's got to defend. I say, as soon as I finish saying he's got to defend, Clint Boyer slips and Kyle Busch goes back by him. Third of the way into the Sylvania 300 on a beautiful fall afternoon in New England. It's been beautiful for Mark Martin these last several laps around.
105 laps down, 195 to go here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and make sure to stay tuned for our NASCAR nonstop coverage in the second half of today's race, presented by Goodyear. Out front right now, Mark Martin being stalked though by Casey Kane and Rusty. This really is a very interesting situation because next year, who's in that 5 car?
Yeah, in fact, the crew chief and the driver, the number 4, are going to be in the 5 car next year, driving for Rick Hendrick's team. And it's pretty wild that they run bumper to bumper, Brad. They both look real good.
They do both look real good. And you called it, man, earlier on in the week. You said Mark Martin's long overdue for a good run. See Casey Kane all over his bumper here. Casey's had some really strong runs this season, but he's not been able to finish in races. If he can ever finish a few of these things, he might get himself into victory lane.
Casey Kane has led 22 laps today, Jamie.
And I talked to Kenny Francis, crew chief for Casey Kane this morning, and he told me, yeah, we start great, but we've torn up a lot of equipment the last few weeks, so they really want to get a good finish. And he also told me they started this weekend off with a normal car. It was nothing special, but they've adjusted their way into this position. And today on track bar adjustment has been everything, as Casey Kane just cannot get around Mark Martin.
Trying to do what he can to get back out in front. Casey Kane has led, like we said, 22. Mark Martin is the leader right now. He did not pit on lap 88 to gain some track position. The 4 trying to get around the 5. If you go back just a little bit, you'll find the pole sitter, Ryan Newman.
Yeah, Ryan Newman's really recovered from that pit stop problem where they lost 5 seconds on pit road, and right now he's only 1 second off the leaders. And his lap time's really good. He basically fixed all the problems they had on pit road.
Yeah, and here comes your guy, Rusty, the guy you picked to win the championship. Jeff Gordon has marched himself right back into this picture. He's tremendous at this racetrack. He's running some super lap times. Matter of fact, the top 10 are all within a tenth of a second.
See Kevin Harvick back there running in the 4th position, or 5th position right now. He did win that race over Richmond on a short track. Probably got close to the same setup in his car right now. I expect this to be a great race for Kevin Harvick because of his tire combination, a short track. All those things really fit Kevin Harvick's driving style real good.
And 1 spot behind Kevin Harvick, you'll find Juan Pablo Montoya, who is out front. But remember, on Friday, Doc, as we go up to speed with these guys, Montoya was not a happy camper after qualifying.
No, because of the rain and the racetrack being changing, he qualified 31st, and the crew said, if you just hang on, we'll do some things to get you track position. That's exactly what they did. They told Juan to look, if you stay out, we won't be able to fix your race car, which is tight in the middle and loose in and off, but we will give you track position, which is exactly what they have done. Right now he's holding on to the 6th spot. Dave.
Hey guys, right now the 48 car of Jimmy Johnson running in the 7th position, dealing with some teammates and some non-teammates on the track today.
Well, that's 1 more car to worry about.
work my way up there to pass the 33. If he gets to me, I'm going to race from here on out.
He's caught us by a quarter straightaway back. He's faster than we are. We need to be courteous to him.
Let's 56.5. If he catches me and I'm racing.
Negative, negative. Do you know what I'm talking about? Keep his hard, be smooth here. Get back up there on him. You can stay with him, just follow him through.
Different agendas depending on who you're racing, and the crew chief trying to keep him in the game either way. Vince?
Running in 8th is the 16 of Greg Biffle. You know, Biffle made a crew chief change at this race back in July. Matt Pusha, that debuted with Biffle as a combination, they ran really well here in July. They had to stop late for fuel, and that gave them a poorer finish than what would really indicate how well they ran. And they're having another good day today, although just a little bit loose in. Dave?
Crew Chief Shane Wilson told me about Clint Boyer this morning in the 33 that we are under less pressure now that we have missed the chase. So we're going for it. And if we don't take chances, we are fools. Well, the only problem with the chances they're taking is a lot of other people are taking them too. A 2-tire stop last time to simply hold their track position, Doc.
Kyle Busch back in 10th spot. You know, the 2-tire stop helped a little bit, but now the car is still tight in the middle, will not roll the center. And quoting Kyle, they are killing me in the center coming up off. So he is having his hands full out there, just trying to hang on to that 10th position. Vince.
Running in 11th is Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jr.'s been up in the top 10 most of the day, and crew chief Steve Letarte said they really ramped up their approach here in the chase after being a little bit more conservative the 5 to 6 weeks leading up to the chase. He said that now they're being more aggressive with their engines, with their setups, and with their strategy, and we're seeing it today. Letarte is confident that he's got a top 10 car with Jr. this afternoon, Nicole.
And while we've been getting you up to speed, some action closer to the front. Casey Kane is still battling with Mark Martin, but it changed for third. Rusty, the fastest guy on the track right now, is Jeff Gordon, and he is in third.
Yeah, absolutely. He's moved up to third place past Ryan Newman. Just like you said, Nicole, he's been one of the quickest guys on the track right now. Lap after lap, he's been the fastest guy out there.
Out front right now, it's the 5 car of Mark Martin. Heading into this day, he'd led just 27 laps all season. Right now, Mark Martin has led 28 laps today, and here's your leader with 1:16 complete at New Hampshire.
Today in New Hampshire, we are creeping in on the halfway point of today's Sylvania 300. Mark Martin, the leader, not pitting under the only caution of the race, with Casey Kane behind him, doggedly pursuing him for the lead, but not being able to get around. Now, 3 other cars didn't pit on that last caution because they stayed out to take a wave around. David Ruderman was one of them, along with David Reagan, and Ruderman ended up maybe needing some fresh tires.
Yeah, he blew that right front probably from excessive brake heat, leaving that right front tire on, having to take the wave around to try to get back on the lead lap, and then trying to really run hard to maintain. Probably took his toll in that right front.
Jamie McMurray was the other one that took a wave around and got back on the lead lap there. So Ruderman was 27th at the time of that problem, and now he's a couple of laps down in 33rd position. So how much longer can Mark Martin stay on the racetrack before they're going to have to come to pit road? Last pitted at lap number 63.
Yeah, he could probably go about 70, maybe 75 laps. Said he had got really great mileage, might be able to go 80 laps.
So that put him around 140 somewhere. As you watch the lap counter there. Dave, what are they saying?
Spot on, my friends. They just told him a couple laps ago, 20 to go. That was on lap 122. 22 plus 20 is 42. So lap 142 should get him down here. Interestingly, Lance McGrew told me this morning it's all about track position, which we know. He said this allows you to be aggressive with your choices. Talking about the tire. The tire holds up. They can be aggressive, and they were. They stayed out.
Yeah, one thing that can happen here, when Mark Martin pits, he's going to bring a lot of cars, because he's the leader. He'll bring a lot of cars in because they don't want him to get the advantage of having those new tires. So this might kind of reset things in his favor.
Yeah, this is going to be strategy at its very best. And doing this with a veteran like Mark Martin is going to work out perfectly. Now, let's talk the other side of the strategy spectrum. When you come down pit road, you do the right thing, right? You just take right side tires only, and it doesn't work out like you really wanted to. That's what's happening with this 2 car, Jamie.
Well, they tried to be fast and efficient, Alan, but he was a little slow exiting the box. He lost quite a few spots. Now he's back mired in the 24th spot, and this is the strategy he wants to come up with.
Yeah, dude, unless we got the lead in sight, like top 10,
Probably not taking 2 tires here. Almost rather stay out. At least have the lead.
So you heard him there. He's talking about staying out when everybody else pits to try to get that track position. So look for the 2 to come in about lap 164. Doc?
Juan Pablo Montoya now on pit road for only the second time today. Pit road lap 62. Did not come in on 88. Was holding his own in 6th place, running with cars with 25 lap pressure tires. 4 tires, air pressure. He said the car was tight in the middle and sliding loose under power up on.
So that's going to put Montoya at least a lap down in that 42 car. Watching this one for 9th place. Kyle Busch in the 18, Dale Jr. in the 88. That almost got physical.
Yeah, Junior's been there a couple of times. He just can't complete that pass when he gets up there to Kyle Busch. Kyle a little bit too strong on the exit.
So up front, Mark Martin continuing to hold off Casey Kane. I think we all kind of thought Mark might be one of those Martin move-overs when Kane got to him, but he stayed in front and has stayed in front, with Jeff Gordon hanging in 3rd, Ryan Newman 4th, and Kevin Harvick in 5th. Then a quarter lap back to this pretty dogged race for 6th place, Vince.
It is indeed, as you see Greg Biffle start to make the move and finally complete the pass of Jimmy Johnson. It's been a long time coming in Biffle's mind.
Yes, Jimmy, I'm using the bumper. If he got out of the way, I'm moving him. You can tell the 42 the same thing. I'm done coming through. If he ain't by when I get to him, he better move over or he's going to have to show up next week.
There you have it, and those are some of the decisions these chase participants have to make when they have somebody they're battling with side by side or bumper to bumper who's not in the chase. Different agendas out here today.
A lot of things going to happen. Now, as we wind down with the laps, this is going to get more tense. And actually, Biffle, whenever Montoya was there, he kind of used up his car. He let Jimmy Johnson go to see if he could get Montoya out of the way a little bit. But Biffle's ready to go, ready to do some racing today.
And what he's saying there basically is, hey, you got a lot to lose. I don't. And when I get to you, you better move over.
So up front, as we close in on the halfway point of the Sylvania 300, we are beginning to see some tempers elevate, and we have seen some strategy play already. Ryan Newman led the early stages of the race, had a hose from his front tire changer get hung on a fender on the first pit stop of the day, cost him some track position. He's recovered now to be running in 4th. Casey Kane led for a while, then under caution, Mark Martin stayed out to take the lead until just now. And you've just seen the lead change as Kane goes back to the front, with Martin approaching his pit window. 25 cars on the lead lap, just 1 caution in the race so far. And when will we see Martin on pit road, and will he in fact bring the rest of the front runners in with him under the green flag in the Sylvania 300? Casey Kane is out in front of the Sylvania 300 for the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, as we are 10 laps from halfway and 10 laps, or a few laps I should say, from a green flag pit stop by Mark Martin, the man who led in this chunk of the race most recently. Let's take an inside look at what's happening in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, brought to you by Sprint. Big moves in the race lately. Matt Kenseth has picked up 10 spots since the restart. Guy that was kind of mired back in traffic a lot of the race and wasn't making a lot of movement forward. He's making some hay now to get closer to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series with unlimited access to highlights, news, and more. Learn more at sprint.com/speed. Mark Martin on pit road, Dave.
The bad news is he gives up track position now. The good news is no changes to his race car. It was great. The question is, how many does he bring down pit road now, Alan? None so far.
Yeah, well, we will see what plays out here, Andy. It's all about the difference in speed on the fresher tires against the deficit Mark now is in to these other guys.
Mark's got 25 laps, or he had 25 laps more on his tires than the rest of the field and these other leaders. So what they're going to watch is him right here. If he's making half a second a lap on them, they'll probably come pretty quick, so they don't lose too much time to him. But all the other cars are on the same, basically on the same cycle.
Speaking of Matt Kenseth, there he is racing with Tony Stewart for the 11th and 12th spots, 17 and 14. Looks like some, sorry, looked like some busy hands inside that 17, DJ.
Yeah, but he's making it work. He's going forward. He's made a lot of passes here in this green flag run. I wonder if some of these leaders may look at the situation and try to make this, look at this one more pit stop with this, so they may stay out and take a chance that the 5 car is really the only one that they're going to lose a lot of time to.
As I say, they're all on the same cycle, so they're not going to lose but to one car. And I think if it does go through this whole cycle and they run their tanks basically out until they need to pit, you'll see Mark Martin have the lead by a fairly good chunk.
Check out the progress through the field there for Matt Kenseth on the day. And the Monday winner, Tony Stewart from out in Chicagoland, who came in here with high hopes because this has been a track where he and his team have performed really well lately. But Stewart didn't qualify like they needed to have that good track position to start.
See right behind him, you got Jeff Burton. I don't think Burton's been more than 3 car lengths behind that 14 the whole race. Looks like he's glued to him.
All right, so we'll see when the front runners come to pit road again if this long green flag run continues. Kasey Kahne out in front of the Sylvania 300 at New Hampshire. A little earlier than we might have expected, Kasey Kahne has given up the lead to come to pit road for service.
Well, we heard that he was going to be one of the cars that were pit before most of them, but here comes some more of them. There's 29 car day.
Kevin Harvick says, I still need to turn my car better in the center of the corner. 4 tire change, and then a track bar adjustment up on the track bar. Jimmy Johnson in as well. He was running in the 6th position. Wedge adjustment for him. Johnson saying not comfortable in the corners.
Regan Smith, Clint Boyer, Jimmy Johnson, Marcus Ambrose in. How about the 78, Doc?
Scheduled pit stop for Regan Smith, the Darlington winner. Car also battling a little bit of tight in the middle and loose under power up off. Air pressure adjustment, no chassis adjustment. They have got to get it very full of fuel. Vince.
The 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr., it's been a solid effort for this team today. They've been a little bit loose in. That's what they've been fighting, but Junior's been very quiet on the radio. That's a good sign. Minimal changes, a 4-tire change, Doc.
Half around on the track bar, air pressure right front. Newman saying I'm loose, loose, loose off, and he was sliding sideways when he jammed the brakes on to get into his pit stall.
Right side of the screen, Jeff Gordon, the race leader, not yet having visited pit road on this cycle of stops. And he's going to get trapped from getting to pit road here as Kasey Kahne goes by him in turn 4. Doc?
18 of Kyle Busch in, wedge out, left rear, 4 tires. And again, the critical thing is getting it full of fuel. You got to wait and get it full of fuel. Some of these guys can make it on one more stop, but it's going to be very close. Jamie.
The day hasn't gotten any better for Kurt Busch. Car is not good. Wedge adjustment. They're putting a right rear spring rubber in the car again. That's the 2nd time today. Track bar adjustment and 4 tires, Dave.
Matt Kenseth had driven himself all the way up close to the top 10 after restarting 23rd. Remember, he was one of the guys that took 4 tires last time. He'll take 4 tires this time. Loose off the corner adjustments. Vince.
The 14 of Tony Stewart. You saw him just leaving the pit box. They made an air pressure and chassis adjustment. 4 tires for Tony, fighting loose in and tight in the middle.
Jeff Gordon, Brad Keselowski, David Reagan have not yet stopped. And Gordon's not going to stop this time.
Yeah, you basically lose just a little bit over a lap here. So when Jeff Gordon does make his pit stop, whatever distance he's losing to that 5 and 4, which you can see right up in front of him, then that's how much he's going to be even more behind the longer that they stay out.
Noticing that little piece of white paper or something up on the grill of that 24 car, a little trash there. Brad Keselowski in for his pit stop. Jamie?
They wanted to stay out longer. We heard the radio from Brad Keselowski earlier saying let's stay out till 164, but they decided it was time. Trying to get track position. He was mired in the middle of the pack. Right side tires going on now. Car hasn't been terrible today. You see a track bar adjustment there on the right rear side of that race car as the 2nd can of Sunoco fuel goes in the car. This is one track. They were worried about it. Caution is out.
That is interesting for Jeff Gordon. As the yellow comes out, the one car up the wall, up the racetrack. Landon Castle in the 51 car over in turn number 2.
Came at 4 tires of fuel. Came at a time when everybody was pitting. Only 5 cars right now being shown on the lead lap. Actually, it might even be 4, depending on how they score.
Now, in years past, Andy, that caution coming out before a cycle of green flag pit stops was completed would have been a real problem for a lot of the guys that have been on pit road already. But with this wave around, the guys like Casey Kane, well, Kane's back on the lead lap, but the guys like Kevin Harvick and Ryan Newman and so on, this isn't that big a deal for them.
No, all they lose is the track position to the cars that are on the lead lap and pitting under this caution. They'll have to start behind them, and with only just 4 or 5 cars that are on the lead lap, that's, you know, they'll line up right behind them, so really they don't lose a lot.
So, just to put a bullet point on some of this, guys who had not pitted yet, Jeff Gordon, David Reagan. Back on the lead lap before the caution came out, Casey Kane and Mark Martin. Getting the free pass on this will be Kevin Harvick, who's the first car a lap down. Kevin getting the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass, first driver a lap down, now gets back on the lead lap. He was in 5th place. Then all these other guys behind him that had stopped already, like Newman and Biffle and Boyer and Johnson and Montoya and Kyle Busch and Earnhardt Jr. and so on, they're all going to have to stay out here, not top off the fuel, take the wave around and come back by the pace car.
That's probably the strategy they would use anyway. They would stay out here. It's not going to really change a lot. What it is kind of a break for Mark Martin. He gets that track position. He's going to be able to get some more tires, reset with the rest of them.
Yeah, the only thing it does do is give Jeff Gordon and his team a huge difference here as far as the amount of laps that they'll have fuel-wise whenever it goes back green.
So if we are looking at, and Doc mentioned this in the coverage of the pit stops a minute ago, teams looking to try and make it a one-stop race from here, the window's open for Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, I think it was open for other cars too. I think there's cars that pitted under green.
Kyle Busch has started to
we'll be able to make it too.
So here they come onto pit road for lead lap cars.
There's one. Wait for it.
Vince? Well, this team high-fived when the yellow came out. It fell at the right time. Look at that right rear. They're going to put a spring rubber in the right rear. Also going to go down 1 round on the track bar. Just fighting a push, and the security up off the corner has been gone. 4 tires. Dave?
Man, who first played the big strategy play. Mark Martin will come down pit road for 4 tires. Again, no chassis adjustment, possible slight air pressure adjustment, but generally very good balance for Mark. Jamie?
And David Reagan said he needs the center to be better. He said, you guys check the front. I tapped the 51, see if there are any issues there. You saw the wrench in the back. They also made an air pressure adjustment. 4 tires, he's down and away. Alan?
So there's all 3 lead lap cars, plus Kevin Harvick, and then a whole pile of them that are going to get the waiver out here when this caution flag cycles out. Just past halfway under caution in the Sylvania 300 here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. It's going to take a lot of strategy and a lot of hard racing to win on this Sunday. Race number 2 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup on a beautiful fall day at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, just past the midway point of the race, and you're watching the parade around the pace car of 25 cars getting the wave around. The rule in NASCAR racing is the leader always has to be the first car behind the pace car for the restart. So all these other cars, when the leaders peeled off and went to pit road, did not pit. So they were between the leader and the pace car. They're being sent around the pace car now. Now the pace car has collected the race leader, who's Casey Kane, who didn't stop under this caution flag.
I don't understand that. I didn't think he should have pitted right there just to make sure he could make it on fuel. I don't think he would have lost any track position. He could have probably maintained the lead.
Well, he was going to be 4th or 3rd, somewhere in that range, because the 24 and the 6 were actually ahead of Mark Martin, but the worst he was going to be was 4th.
I don't understand. He may have to make an extra pit. He may feel like he's good to go with one more pit stop.
We were coming to restart. They're going to wave that off while they get the restart order correct. The car is put in the right place on the track.
Well, 25 wave rounds, it's going to be kind of hard to line them up in one lap.
Well, Ryan Newman, 39 there, is the one that is getting out of position. I think he saw Kevin Harvick getting in position as the free pass car, and he figured he was up there with Harvick somewhere, and he's going to get back behind some of the lap cars, and they're working it out right now. Hey, take a minute while we're under caution to talk about Monday Night Football and a very interesting matchup. The surprising Redskins, led by Rex Grossman, trying to remain unbeaten, taking on Tony Romo and the Cowboys in an NFC East battle for first place. It's Monday Night Football, ESPN, 8:30 Eastern, coverage starting at 7 Eastern with Monday Night Countdown served by Applebee's. Romo coming off the injuries listed as questionable for the game, but how do you see that one playing out? I say he plays.
I say he will too.
Kurt Busch a minute ago.
Glad we think we're ready to win this chase. Need to get ready to be not on stage in Vegas again. Got 7 races to go here. Let's keep our head in this thing. We're going to do our best here. 10-4. Be positive. For all of us, that's good. Let's just keep digging here. We'll try to work that thing, make it better. Let's keep going.
Back racing with now 27 cars on the lead lap. Kevin Harvick diving to the inside. Little 3 wide into the corner.
Just to explain a little bit, Kevin Harvick, even though he was a free pass, we'll rub him back towards the back there, but he doesn't have to go behind the wave around cars. That's why he's able to be the free pass and start up as far as what he is.
But he did have to start behind some of the lap cars, and all the wave-around cars had to stop behind some of the lap cars, so that's why 32 of Mike Bliss, 51 of Landon Castle, and some of those guys are in the mix here with all these cars that are now back on the lead lap. I know it's kind of chaotic, but it's about 4 different NASCAR rules all coming to play at once that set this situation up.
It's actually the way the caution flag flew, right in the middle of those round green flags. Oh, look at Kyle Busch. Yeah, just sliding that left front tire. Trying to make something happen here.
Jeff Gordon has taken the lead. Casey Kane has settled in second. There are now 27 cars on the lead lap. Dale, you talked about a while back at the beginning of the race, restarts and how the intensity is there because you've got to make some ground while the field is bunched up.
Yeah, you know that this is your time. We've seen these cars, all the lap times be so close. This is the time that you can make things happen, get some spots, and just start pushing around. As the laps wind down, we're going to see that happen more and more.
Caught a big break for David Reagan in that 6 car too. Settled in third. Played that just right.
Kyle Busch is racing for 10th spot in that 18 car we're watching back there. The 9 car that he just went by, Marcus Ambrose, is not on the lead lap. And again, that's part of that whole shuffle of cycling all these wave around guys back up through the traffic.
Harvick just gets around Mark Martin. Looks like Martin gave him that spot. He got up beside him coming off of turn 4. Mark pulled over, let him go.
And that's for 4th place. How about Harvick, Dave?
Alan, he's like that race car ever since they stopped their first round of practice on Friday, put tires on it for a mock qualifying run, and it came alive. In fact, he qualified 6th on the day, and I asked crew chief Gil Martin, who seems to always be saying, yeah, we qualified in the back because of this or that, because that's what we do. I don't know how we did it ourselves, laughingly, but that was really the point at which the car woke up, and ever since then, the car's been under cabin great. Last time, no changes when he came down pit road.
Dicey there on the left side of the screen, too. Brian Vickers in that 83 was looking for some running room way down low.
Yeah, look at Logano. Big move around Brian Vickers. Trying to.
19th place for Logano, trying to get 18th from Vickers. Jimmy Johnson, Clint Boyer.
Jimmy gonna let him go?
Based off the radio traffic from Bindle we heard earlier. It is kind of a fine line, isn't it, when you're a driver that's in the chase, racing these guys that aren't?
Yeah, it is, but you have to know that, they're here to race too, to try to win, and so it's more up to you. You see Kyle Busch a little bit sideways there, but it's more up to you as that driver in the chase to decide just how much you're going to allow them to do. So I don't think these drivers that aren't in the chase need to worry about, taking it that easy. They have to race hard.
Stewart 14, Kenseth 17, Junior 88, Truex 56. A lot of action going on here as we're just past halfway in the Sylvania 300 here at the Hampshire Motor Speedway. And it's good because it's time to go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Goodyear. You won't miss a thing. Saw the caution come out. Matt Kenseth, Carl Edwards racing for 15th and 16th with Kenseth getting the worst of that. Pit road is open. Jeff Gordon, the leader, stays out. A lot of others coming in, Dave.
Kevin Harvick gives up fourth and only gets gas. The 48 of Jimmy Johnson is in as well. At this point, they will take 4 tires and adjustments on Jimmy Johnson's car.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. continuing to work on that race car. He says, all I need is to get to the front. 2 tires and fuel for Junior. Doc?
Fuel only for Ryan Newman. They were going to do 2 tires on a track bar, but they waved it off to get him back on the racetrack. Dave.
Matt Kenseth now coming in. He's said over the radio that he didn't appreciate the 99 contact that initiated the spin. He has also asked for brake duct tape to be removed. I don't know if the brakes were going to all the way to the floor before or after he was having to pump them up. But they removed some tape off that front end right there.
All right, worthy of following up on what happened to Matt Kenseth that put us under this caution flag.
Well, there's been a lot of racing back in this group, and you see Matt Kenseth might have been a little bit slow back to the throttle.
Hit him hard, bud.
No, I didn't hit him hard. Man, relay if you can. I truly was doing everything I could to stop.
So that's the cause of the third caution, a race between a couple of teammates in the chase for the Sprint Cup. As we go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Goodyear. Pace cars off as we come back to the restart. Top 9 on the racetrack did not pit under this caution. 10th place Kevin Harvick is the first one off pit lane as we go green. Remember, Harvick getting just fuel only on the stop. My former champion driver cohort up here is standing here holding his breath on this restart for a second.
Just a lot of, with all these different agendas, we see them 3 wide. Back routes, they coming down the front straightaway. Everybody's ramping it up. Just over 100 laps to go here. Expect some contact.
You got some. Look at this, knocking around back there.
Big time right there. Got some smoke. It looks like 43 car may have got a little damage on the left front.
Oh boy, that's close. Trying to take a look at that right rear of that 31 car, Jeff Burton, and see if that's wrinkled up or if that's just an optical illusion from the sun, the way the sun was hitting the quarter panel. How about this? Jimmy Johnson kind of caught in the middle, double wide in front of him, double wide behind him, and no place to go.
He's made it 3 wide a couple of times. See Dale Jr. trying to get to the inside of
They were 3 wide. They were 3 wide getting into 3.
Now remember, this 29 car did not take tires on the pit stop, and some of these guys that are coming up to pass him did.
And Junior got right side tires. That seems to be working pretty good for his car. They are 3 wide off the turn 2.
Oh, Robin. No smoke there. Paul Menard's car in that 27, neon green one. Neon yellow.
They're trying to make this work. I'm not sure it's going to.
Take your choice. It's the bright colored one. 56 and 27 are racing for 15th and 16th places. Edwards 99, Jimmy Johnson 48, right behind them, double wide. And that's 17th and 18th.
Ryan Vicker's getting pretty aggressive here. He's ready to go. 99
struggling for track position all day.
Bobby Labonte, 47. Brian Vickers, 83. It's back for 20th and 21st. Donut mark on the door of that 83, looks like, on the right side door. All right, Andy, want to take just a minute and break down some of the strategy we saw played or not played on this pit stop. There's Jeff Gordon, the race leader, one of the 9 cars that didn't pit under the yellow. They stayed on the racetrack there. Then you got the whole group that did pit. And what's the difference in the thinking?
Well, most of the cars that pitted probably could not make it from their last stop on one more. And that was the ones that pitted under green. I think Kevin Harvick pitted on lap 159. He had to take the waiver down, so he couldn't come down pit road. That was a big break, you know, when Jeff Gordon and Mark Martin always made that pit stop. That reset them where they could make it on one stop. So that puts them in a good position, and they had track position. So those other cars were really forced into making that pit stop under that last caution.
Because they weren't able to when they had to take the waiver on. You're not allowed to come down pit road in that case. And the timing of the caution flag and so on. Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car. Based on what people were telling me in the garage this morning, I expected him to be a lot closer to the front.
The track conditions are so much different today than they were in practice, so it may not have been a good gauge on what we saw in both practices.
And I can assure you, after yesterday, they thought they were going to be a lot closer to the front than this the majority of the day.
Johnson back there sitting in 16th position. 5-time consecutive champion. Trying to make it 6th, and of course the Monday race at Chicagoland, he was one of the guys that ran out of fuel on the last lap. He fell from 3rd to 10th on that last circuit, lost a little ground there. And again, Jimmy Johnson back in 16th place. There is Jeff Gordon leading, Casey Kane 2nd, Clint Boyer 3rd, Mark Martin 4th, David Reagan 5th. And you look back to Ryan Newman, racing with Kyle Busch for a spot there. That's 10th place. And Kyle Busch getting through.
What I'm seeing here is tires are important here. Remember these 18 and 88 put on right side tires on that last stop, and that seems to really be making some difference as this track continues to get even more slick. And that's going to be a problem these drivers that took no tires are going to have. It's Kevin Harvick's falling back even further than Newman here now.
Junior by Newman to pick up that spot. That is the 11th position. How's it all going to play out? We've seen a lot happen in recent moments in the race and a lot more action still to come. You'll see it all as we go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Goodyear. Well, we've got about a third of the race to go, and yet we're already looking forward to the finish where strategy is concerned. Strategy and the track position, such big stories in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series this season, and teams at this particular racetrack needing to stay off pit road as much as possible. The calculators are buzzing and the mileage figuring is going on in a big way. Hearing from pit road that Casey Kane, the 2nd place runner, their team saying they cannot make it on one more pit stop from where they last pitted. What about Clint Boyer? They're running 3rd, Dave.
They are, and they said this recently over the radio.
Start saving me a little bit of fuel. You have a 0.6 out the back. If we can't chase down that 4, we're going to run 3rd here and save fuel.
That was about 5 laps ago. Since then, crew chief Shane Wilson has said, okay, if we're going to get to our window, you're going to need to save me a lot. So we'll see how he does. He hasn't moved from that 3rd place position, but right now they think they can do it in one more stop if Clint saves a lot.
And if you were with us on NASCAR Countdown earlier, DJ and Tim Brewer over at the Craftsman Tech Garage demonstrating some of the techniques we might see from on board these cars. Try to save fuel here on the Magic Mile.
Yeah, and we explained that what we saw last week, the way that they were saving some fuel, can't really happen here. Kicking in the clutch, turning the engine off. You can't do things like that. Here, it'd just be a matter of rolling out of the throttle.
What about some of the guys in the championship? Where do they stand 2/3 of the way through this race? We go up to speed. How about Jeff Gordon, Vince?
Well, after finishing 24th last week, Jeff Gordon went from 3 points out of the championship lead to 25 points behind. Crew Chief Alan Gustafson said, we've got to have a big bounce back. We're capable of winning every week, and we think we've shown that throughout the season, and they're showing it again today. Constant adjustments on the car. Jeff Gordon likes what he's got so far. Jamie?
Well, Casey Kane wanted to be a spoiler today, but their pit sequence has them out of whack right now. They will have to stop at least 2 more times, but Brad Keselowski, meanwhile, he is out of whack on pit strategy, and it's working to his advantage. He waited longer to pit, he came in, the caution fell, and now he's up in the top 10, Vince.
Tony Stewart is running 7th, and Stewart started 20th, but they've really been happy with his car throughout the course of the weekend. And of course, coming off that win last week in Chicagoland, crew chief Darian Grubb said it was a huge shot of confidence for Tony. When you're not running well, the driver questions the crew chief questions the driver. Nobody's questioning anything today. The 14 is rock solid. Doc?
The 18 of Kyle Busch trying to bounce back from the frustrations in the final laps at Chicagoland last weekend. Finishing 22nd after running out of gas in the final laps. Right now running 10th. They should be able to make it. They're fairly confident they can make it on 1 more stop.
It's been a good day for Dale Earnhardt Jr., currently junior running in the 11th spot. His crew chief, Steve Letarte, says this is a very stressful race for a crew chief. Tires, fuel strategy, all the things that go in, what changes you're going to make on the car. But so far, so good for the 88.
We are a solid 1 stop from here, no problem. Hey, I'll give you $1,000 if we go that far. No, we won't, but now we won't have to come even if the yellow comes out. We try to get that track position back up. You know what I mean? Just opens up our options.
They've been good off the trailer, and they're good again today. Doc?
Very atypically, a moment ago, Ryan Newman showing some frustration on the radio, basically saying, you can't put me back here with old tires and expect me to drive to the front. Tony Gibson immediately apologized, and then Ryan came back and apologized. Said, no, I'm just frustrated, buddy. We'll get it done. But right now, I'm just having trouble going anywhere back here. Tony said, we got 1 more stop. We will fix it for you. Now, behind them is the 11 car. Denny Hamlin, the hard-luck driver thus far in the chase. 12th in the points coming in. And Hamlin, remember, did not pit on lap 174 when everyone else came in. His last pit stop, lap 153. They're going to try to make it on 1 more stop. And wow, is it going to be very, very close. Dave.
Kevin Harvick came down pit road the last time. They didn't make any changes. In fact, they didn't even change the tires. That's why he went from 10th to 14th on the restart. But the pit stop was critical because they believe now they can make it on 1 more stop with the fuel that they took on. Behind him, Jimmy Johnson, they're not so sure at this point about that fuel situation, and they're not so sure about their communication with each other either.
You ready? Sounds real encouraging. Come on, dude. Dude, your cheerleading's terrible. I'm going to drive my ass off. Don't sweat it. Just watch. Prove it, baby. Come on. Actually annoying instead of helping. Just let me go out and do my thing. Of course.
I mean, restarted 19th. He's picked up 4 positions, so he's not climbing his way to the front real fast. There might be some fuel saving going on there, but it's still dicey as to whether they'll have to pit twice or 1 more time now.
Thanks, Dave. Sometimes they say a driver and a crew chief to be successful together have to act like they're married.
Yep. Sounds like.
95 laps to go. We go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Goodyear. Race number 2 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, the Sylvania 300 from the New Hampshire Motor Speedway on a beautiful opening weekend to New England Fall. Jeff Gordon out in front as we close in on the 3/4 mark of this event. He's out in front by a chunk. He's opened up 2 1/3 seconds on second place, Casey Kane. The AT&T Fastest Pit Crew of the Year award. We check in on that. Kevin Harvick's team currently in the lead, but you can help determine the standings. Vote from your AT&T phone by texting the car number to 234-567 which you think is the fastest and most valuable.
I see some cars pitting here before too many more laps. 14, Tony Stewart, he pitted last on 152. From him, Brad Keselowski pitted on 154. Those cars are going to be on pit road pretty soon.
And that should be their last stop of the race.
Well, it just depends. I mean, I'm wondering about some of these cars, whether they can do it. We heard that Casey Kane cannot. make it on one more stop. And I'm wondering about Tony. You know, he's got a long way to go, but he knows how to save.
48 behind Vickers here. He's trying to pass Jimmy Johnson for this spot, so 48's still struggling. Their strategy, I'm not sure, has been exactly right. And they definitely haven't had this race car right today for Jimmy Johnson.
Better, you know, definitely clean air, I'm sure it's helping, but we're still a little bit tight. Just get just before the center now, a little free off. We're just a tiny bit tight, I guess, on initial throttle.
What's coming from the inside of that 24 car? The onboard computer reporting in. So Alan Gustafson, his crew chief and company, with that information to get ready to make what could be a final pit stop. We go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Goodyear.
As you just saw on NASCAR nonstop, Kasey Kahne has come down pit road for what will be another pit stop, but we're not sure he can make it to the end. Jeff Gordon is currently your leader, and there on track is the battle between Newman and Kyle Busch, the battle for 10th.
Yeah, those guys have been hitting each other a lot. I mean, Newman just got in the back of that 18 car, and 18's not having nothing of it. And so they just keep going back and forth, but it's typical short track racing. Now they're getting late in the race, and tempers are starting to fail right now.
Let's get caught up with what's happened so far with our Dodge race rundown, because this race started in very dramatic fashion for the 22 car in the penalty box early. They had some issues, did not pass pre-race inspection.
Got off to a slow start, had to make some changes on the race car before the green flag fell, and it's put them back. They've been slow all day, and Kurt Busch has not been happy.
Right now, he's running in 25th. Ryan Newman, the pole sitter, the July winner at this track, started off good on the track, but had some troubles on pit road.
Yeah, he looked real good. Right here, they got the air hose hung up in the right front, lost about 5 seconds on a pit stop. That got him behind. He's really not recovered really good since then.
And he's right now battling with Denny Hamlin for 11th today, though, just like so many races this season, has all been pit strategy, crew chiefs.
Everybody's trying to put themselves in position for that last stop. We think we can get almost 70 laps out of these things somehow. We'll see what happens. Strategy is the key.
When you are in the chase, the last thing you want to do is have an issue. The last thing you want to do is have an issue with your teammate who is also in the chase.
Yeah, that was not good right there. You saw Carl Edwards got in the back of Matt Kenseth. They both got mad at each other a little bit. I mean, the 17 got mad at Carl Edwards. Carl was saying, I didn't do it, man. Give me a break. Get on the radio and tell him.
Some perspective, too. Edwards and Kenseth are currently running together on the track in 18th and 19th. As we look towards the front of the field, Jeff Gordon is your leader. The next chaser is Brad Keselowski, who's currently running third.
Unbelievable. Once again, Brad Keselowski has made his way up into that top 5. He's got a strong race car right now. This young man has had an unbelievable second half of the year. He has put himself in great position for a great finish today.
77 laps to go, Alan, but right now that 2 car is chasing a championship. He's only 5 points behind Tony Stewart.
Continuing to show consistency, continuing to show the second time around at a racetrack with he and Paul Wolfe has been a good combination, building that red coat for Team 2. And Jeff Gordon leading, continuing to show me a question that I had about this team after the awful run they had at Chicagoland on Monday. They came into the chase with such strength, and then they just weren't very good Monday, and they've answered back.
Nobody expected to see him run like they did last week. And they had a problem with the strategy also, which got them a terrible finish, but they never ran good all day. But here, they've come right back to the form that they had and what we expected to see in the chase.
Jeff Gordon out in front of this race more than anyone else so far today. He has spent about a quarter of the race out in front. And we saw Kasey Kahne in. Now here comes Mark Martin, Dave.
Mark was running in the 5th position, Alan. They made a change to the car last time that is make the car go loose. So they'll put that wedge adjustment back, 4 tires, and full, it better be full, of Sunoco fuel for the end of the race. Doc?
Denny Hamlin rolled the dice. Now they have gone 74 laps on fuel. They got to go 75 to the finish, make it 76 this time by. Track bar adjustment. Hamlin said, I am loose, trying to rebound from finishing 31st at Chicagoland. 4 tires and fuel. Dave.
Boyer will get a track bar adjustment because his car was a little tight, and his crew chief told me this morning, one of the things we know from winning last year is how not to make our car too loose. Vince?
The 16 of Greg Biffle's been a top 10 car all day, but he says it's chattering the front tires through the turns. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment with a 4-tire change for Greg Biffle.
And that fuel man making sure he's got all the gasoline in that car he can is going to be critical on this stop for all these guys.
I was like, nice and smooth. Take care of that gas for when just easy on it. I thought we were good on fuel. We are. I'm just saving room for green, white checkers. Don't worry about it. I just want you to be a little bit easy on the gas.
Yeah, you just want to try to keep all your options open. Heard Alan Gusson just had him say fuel, and that's given a little mixed signal to Jeff because he thought he was good and he wasn't saving fuel. But that just tells you that they were really close.
Saw Dale Earnhardt Jr. kind of smoking on off into turn 3 and then had to give that spot right back. More cars on pit road, Vince.
The 14 of Tony Stewart.
Too.
Looks like Dale Jr. going off course for a moment.
Flat tire, right foot. All right, come on, this time.
Oh, tough break for Dale Jr. As you see Tony Stewart leaving. They just made an air pressure adjustment and 4-tire change for the 14. Jamie?
And you see Dale Jr. trying to stay out of harm's way. David Reagan on the left-hand side coming down pit road. But Dale Jr., gosh, what a precarious situation for him. He makes it onto pit road safe. Let's go back upstairs to Allen.
That was hairy.
Yeah, well, it's a bad break for Junior, too, because he has a great car today.
And behind him, Jeff Gordon is going to give up the lead to come to pit road here as well. Vince?
You see the 88 on the right-hand side. They had the tire go down. The 24 of Jeff Gordon on the left-hand side of the screen. It's a 4-tire change for Gordon. They just told him pack it full of fuel. This will be the last stop for the 24.
Long stop for Gordon.
Long one, yes.
Long stop for Gordon.
He's out of fuel. See, they've got the...
Yep. They stretched it just a little too far.
Had the squirt bottle with the fuel, the line that goes down into the carburetor to get some fuel into that 24 car so they could restart it. Brad Keselowski took the lead when Gordon pitted. Now he gives up the top spot for a pit stop, Jamie.
Brad Keselowski saying the car doesn't do anything bad. It's just not fast. He wants 4 fresh tires, no adjustments. He has been saving fuel. They've been getting great fuel mileage on this car. You see he's a little bit close to the wall. He came in at an angle. He has done their job today getting that pit strategy. The car has been great, Doc.
Speaking about being great, Kyle Busch been hanging in the top 10, but not the race car he wanted. He said, guys, final stop, you got to free me up, give me a shot. Well, they made a call. They brought your air pressure out, rubber out, right front, 4 tires on, get it full of Sunoco fuel. Then I'm trying to free Kyle up and let him freewheel and catch somebody here in the final 70 laps.
So Kyle Busch back out onto the racetrack. There is Paul Menard in, Dave.
The Indy winner, his car won't turn, so they'll make a, looks like just an air pressure adjustment at this point unless we missed a chassis adjustment. Paul was running back about 23rd before everyone started pitting.
Juan Montoya was the leader. Now he gives up the top spot to pit road. That's Ryan Newman behind him. Carl Edwards coming in as well.
Juan Pablo Montoya coming in. What a job he has done, starting way in the back of the pack, track position, staying out, driving a very loose race car and hanging on maybe to a top 10 finish. Down on down pit road, the 39 car, pole sitter and early leader Ryan Newman said the car is still very loose in. 4 tires fuel, slight air pressure adjustment, clean the grill, waiting on fuel, still waiting on fuel for the 39. Now he's down. Dave.
Matt Kenseth back on pit road now. He will take a 4-tire change, and the good news is that when he hit pit road, his brakes worked. So apparently getting some more air to the brake ducts has helped the 17 4 tires, and he's off pit road. Vince?
For Jeff Burton in the 31, it's been a solid day for these guys. They've been having one of their better races of the season. It's a 4-tire change for Burton in the 31.
All right, Vince, thanks. Brian Vickers is the race leader as the cycle continues. There's the 83, waiting on Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, and about 5 others to come down pit road before you might see Casey Kane cycle back toward the front. Bobby Labonte, one of those we were waiting on, Dave.
Yep, the former champion back on pit road, Alan. His balance has been back and forth. This time he just asked for 4 tires and no changes, so a better end of the day than it started for Labonte.
Got a 7th place finish here in the July race by having the right strategy and being able to be under power to the checkered flag where a lot of others weren't. Vickers giving the wave.
Yeah, just letting him know that he's going to be coming in. That's Denny Hamlin that's right behind him.
Allmendinger's on pit road, Vince.
He was 27th last week at Chicagoland, but overall he's been running better the last month and a half. Greg Irwin, the new crew chief there, seemed to hit on something with AJ. A little bit loose on entry, 4 tires and fuel for the 43. Now the 83 of Brian Vickers, they had that great starting position earlier today, but they've been going backwards a little bit. Brian still's been arching the corner into the car into 1 and 2, trying to get the car to roll a little better. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment with this 4-tire change on the 83 for Vickers.
All right, thanks. And right side of the screen, you saw Kevin Harvick slowing. One of the guys yet to make the stop in this cycle. There is the 29, Dave.
His car's a little tight in the middle of the corner, a little loose coming off of the corner. So right now it's going to be an air pressure adjustment for Harvick on that race car.
And while he stops, Jimmy Johnson is actually going to go to the lead and collect a bonus point for leading the lap. And in this expected to be closest of championships, every point counts. Lead the lap, hit pit road.
When his car gets to the center of the corner, Alan, it won't turn the way he wants it to. The red's going in is for wedge, and they'll also make a slight air pressure adjustment as well. Johnson pitting here on lap 239. That means he will be able to get to the end for sure. We'll see how it works out for him.
All right, so Jimmy headed back out onto the racetrack. 56 of Martin Truex Jr. is the race leader. Kurt Busch is second. Jamie McMurray is third. They have yet to pit on this cycle. Casey Kane, remember, made the early move to pit road. And Jeff Gordon with the long pit stop because the car appeared to be out of fuel. So, there's Casey Kane in the 4. And wait on Jeff Gordon. Because he's a bit behind him. And that pit stop cost him some ground. We go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Goodyear. Almost through the cycle of green flag pit stops, not quite, and some pretty intense racing on the track in the Sylvania 300 at New Hampshire.
Yeah, Jimmy's been trying for about 4 laps to get around the 20 car here. Joey Logano, see just how loose he is. Might be a little contact here shortly. Been trying to stay off of him, but he might have used up all of his patience right there.
Kevin Harvick there as well in the 29. This is for, believe it or not, 18th, 19th, and 20th places. Kurt Busch is the race leader, collecting, there's some contact there on the right side of the screen, collected a point toward that championship, and now he's on pit road, Jamie.
Yes, he did. Stayed out and led 4 laps. They're off strategy here. Of course, their day has not gone so well. They failed pre-race inspection for the rear end housing being out too far. They adjusted that. The car has not been good. They're making their way up. Said he's bad loose on exit wedge adjustment. Air pressure adjustment on the left rear, 4 tires. He's down and away.
So that completes the cycle of pit stops and gives the lead back to Casey Kane. Got pretty intense there with Johnson and Logano and Harvick.
Well, it's getting down to that time. He can't waste much time. Jimmy's pretty far behind, so he can't take any chances of messing around with any lap or with any cars. You can see just how sideways that is, leaving marks.
After the flat tire, Dale Earnhardt Jr. has gotten back on the lead lap in the cycle of pit stops. He's 22nd. Jeff Gordon is 4th, 1.8 seconds behind Casey Kane, and there's the race for the lead, 4 and 33, as we go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Goodyear. Things are happening in a hurry here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. As you saw in NASCAR Nonstop, new leader is that man, Clint Bowyer, 2-time winner at this New Hampshire track, who squeezed his way out into the #1 spot and has brought some company with him. 33 car, good to the finish on fuel, Dave?
Well, depends on what you believe, Alan. They went 75 laps with 2 caution periods. the last time. They got to lap 226, 74 to go. Just talked to Shane Wilson, can you make it? He gave me the nod that they could. This morning I asked him how far they could go on fuel. 70 under green if we're not saving, somewhere closer to 75 or 80 if we are. Can you save fuel and lead the race, DJ?
It certainly makes it more challenging, Dave. There's no doubt about that. And saving 5 to 10 laps, we're talking, this is a mile racetrack, so that's saving quite a bit. And the only way that you have to do it here basically is rolling out of the throttle, and he's leading.
Yeah, he's not going to have the luxury of having a big lead to work with either. He's got Tony Stewart and Jeff Gordon coming. Vince?
Tony Stewart can make it to the end on fuel. Crew Chief Darian Grubb, of course, this race last year, Stewart was leading in the final laps when he ran out of fuel, and that gave that chase opening victory to Clint Boyer. Can they do it again? Can they win a second straight race in the chase? They're looking pretty good right now. The 24 of Jeff Gordon also in the mix, as you see him right on the tail of Stewart. Now they have told Gordon that although Stewart can likely make it, they have doubts about Clint Boyer. So Gordon knows he's racing for position as well with the 14. Maybe it's for the win.
All right, thanks, Vince. So as we look at Jeff Gordon, look ahead at Tony Stewart, let's talk about this 14, because for a lot of the race, he was mired back in traffic, lacked that track position we talked about, and now all of a sudden, when it gets down to it counting the most, he's found his way up to the front.
You see Jeff Gordon's 21.6. That's because he sat on pit road, basically ran it too far. He was out of fuel, so they were trying to get it restarted. They were trying to stretch it a little bit during that segment so they would have enough fuel for maybe a green-white checker. And so we feel like he's really good to the end, Jeff Gordon is. But, man, he gave up a lot of track position, lost the lead, and now he's going to have to try to pass these two cars back.
So Stewart with the solid stop, Gordon with the slow stop. Casey Kane was in front of them. He's on a different pit schedule, so now Kane fading back. And you see the picture tightening up at the front of the pack. Boyer, Stewart, Gordon, 1, 2, and 3. 41 laps to go at New Hampshire. And I don't think we've seen the last twisted plot in this one yet. We go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Goodyear. "36 laps to go. Chase race number 2, New Hampshire Motor Speedway. That is the race for the lead. Clint Boyer, 33. Tony Stewart, 14. With Jeff Gordon somewhat close behind them. The gap between these top 3 varying depending on lap traffic that they're catching here and there.
And we saw this right here last year. The rollers reversed a little bit with Tony Stewart leading the race.
All right, bud, I know you don't want to hear this. I need you to start taking care of the throttle here. The problem with the last pit stop was the exchange on the gas cans, and we struggled there a little bit. Just start easy in, less brake, easy off.
Jeff Gordon's radio.
That's not good news. I really thought he was plenty safe by making that long pit stop. So they would have gotten it full.
But did not. And you heard the description there, the exchange between the two gas cans.
This fueling system is very hard. It's hard to get it full, and it's just something the teams have been struggling with some.
So Jeff Gordon going to give up third spot there to Casey Kane, who goes by him.
Like Kane goes, we know he has to get on pit road one more time. He doesn't have enough. It's been a good run for Casey Kane and this team, though. We've seen them a lot of times have speed fall off, but they've hung right in there, leading laps and right up in the top 3 most of the day.
Now, Kevin Harvick leading the championship starting this day, all the way back in 18th place right now, Dave.
And even though his teammate is leading, certainly not all smiles in the Richard Childress Racing camp right now.
How can that 33 run so much further than us Gillis? I mean, is that right? I don't know, Kevin. We've been getting 3.8 all day long. We cannot go that far. If we'd have pitted with a 33 did, we'd run out with 8 to go. If that's the case, we need to have Senator Scully on Monday and figure out why that is, because that's not acceptable.
The other voice you heard there was that of crew chief Gil Martin. Gil won a race here in 2007. It was with Clint Boyer. He has a handle on this racetrack in terms of setups that they haven't been able to translate over to the 29 yet, and certainly the mileage has not been as good either. And remember, the 33, one of the things that they're supposed to do in this chase is help the 29 win the championship, Alan.
All right, Dave, thank you. And as we watch Matt Kenseth there, racing Juan Pablo Montoya for the 11th and 12th positions. Kenseth, one of the guys victimized, I'll say victimized, on the last lap at Chicagoland on Monday by running out of fuel. So Clint Bowyer was 4.5 seconds ahead of Tony Stewart prior to the pit stops. Now that's the gap from Bowyer back to Stewart. First to second.
Not far, but I think Tony may be saving a little fuel right here too. Bowyer, maybe what he thinks is just hard enough to possibly run him out.
Casey Kane has gone back to third place around Jeff Gordon.
We'll have to make another stop. The 4-car, Casey Kane.
Behind Kane now is Greg Biffle in fourth spot as the Jeff Gordon fuel conservation mode continues. Biffle by to fourth, Gordon sliding back to fifth, 6 seconds behind the leader. Open for a caution as we go NASCAR Nonstop, presented by Goodyear. Into the final laps at New Hampshire Motor Speedway of the second race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Clint Bowyer is out in front of Tony Stewart by 0.8 of a second. With still some intense pockets of racing around the Magic Mile. Carl Edwards going by Kyle Busch there for 12th and 13th places. Jimmy Johnson in that group also.
He's been able to run these two down as they were battling for the spot there. Looks like Kyle Busch has kind of lost the handle of his car here. But he's not making it easy on anybody to get around him, even at that.
Unrelated to what we're looking at the moment, there was some unfortunate language during part of our pre-race coverage today that made it onto the air, it appears, and we wish to extend our apologies for that. The apology being extended on behalf of the driver involved. Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, 13th spot. Not the kind of days either one of these guys were hoping to have here.
No, at the very least, they were certainly looking and hoping that they could find themselves a little contact there.
That was close.
I haven't seen the last bit of contact either.
I've seen Jimmy be pretty aggressive today, trying to get by these cars. Maybe a little frustrated.
It's just so hard. You get down into the corner, there's going to be more.
Oh, no.
That's it. Ryan Newman able to take advantage of that and go right on by, as is Kevin Harvick going to go by Jimmy Johnson now. Regan Smith actually went by the 18 also.
Kyle Busch did a good job not to crash right there.
Both
and
of
Jimmy
them.
did.
Yeah, that's incredible.
And Dale Jr. right behind them. Remember, had the flat right front tire a little while ago while running well.
Yeah, that is such a shame for Dale Jr. and this team. They've had a solid race car all day. He's been a long way back coming to challenge these guys and get a couple more spots. That's exactly what we've talked about at this flat racetrack. You get down into the corner, there's no banking there to hold you.
That was like Kyle didn't give him a lot of room though, did he?
No, and that's what you do. You know that. You can take advantage of that. Just pinch him down a little bit.
You're freaking out of the game!
That was Kyle Busch's radio, apparently. And Johnson continuing to slide back. That right front fender's mashed in pretty good on that tire.
That's there, and there's a possibility that he's got a small leak or something with the contact in that right front tire. But as much as anything, you just heat it. When you slide like that and heat up all four, you're just losing all the grip that you had left.
Left the race with Martin Truex for 21st and 20th places there. Is the five-time champ. So the closing lap for this one not going to be what Jimmy Johnson was looking for at all. So, Clint Bowyer, two-time New Hampshire Motor Speedway winner, racing under circumstances that it's possible could be described as awkward. future of Flint with Richard Childress Racing, pretty much generally acknowledged that he's going to be headed elsewhere for next season. Yet to be announced, but that he and this team likely not to be continuing together. And if they don't continue together, a lot of the guys working on this 33 car, what is their future beyond the end of this season? And yet here they are, putting together potentially a winning effort in another 16 laps. Casey Kane did have to get that extra pit stop, Jamie.
Yes, he did. Been running top 3 all day long. They last pitted on 2:17. It's going to be right side tires and put just enough fuel in it. As long as it takes for the tires, it'll be fast and efficient here. Unfortunate for Casey Kane, but a good car and just had a good day.
Well, this is going to be another one of those days for that 4 team this year where the results are not going to reflect how well they've run.
Had a good solid car all day today. They just didn't execute well. The car was fast. It's probably the best race I've seen the car, for the car to be good all day. So I'll take some positives away from this race.
So let's get back to Boyer here for just a minute. Stopped with 74 laps to go. And we heard Dave's report a little while ago that they needed to save a little fuel, but he was racing for the lead. Given what you're seeing out of Boyer now,
I haven't seen much of an effort to save any fuel here and watching the lap times. I mean, he's done everything that he needs to do to stay in front of this group, but and even catch some of the lap cars, he's had to run really hard at times and use a lot of fuel. So I think they're going to be extremely close and maybe lucky if they make it to the end here.
Denny Hamlin in the 11 car has chipped his way up to 7th spot in this running order. Driver with the difficult Monday in Chicagoland that fell a good chunk behind in this championship to open the chase. Doc, what are they saying?
Well, and Denny has had horrible luck, as you mentioned, on the most recent race in Chicagoland last Monday. But today they're going to try to turn their luck around. They are gambling big time. They're trying to go, on the left side of your screen, trying to go 76 laps from their last stop. The most they've gone today, 73. And here was the conversation a moment ago while Denny has been saving fuel.
10-4, if you've saved what you say you have, you're clear to race them here whenever you want.
They had told Denny to back it up 100 RPMs a lap and save fuel. Denny said, I will get us there. I will get us there. Don't worry, buddy. We need something to turn our season around. They just now turned him loose. And Denny said, I'm going to start running hard and go get the 6 and anyone else I can get here in the final 12 laps.
Hey, look at the lap times too, Doc. He's picked it up for sure. He was the third quickest car on the track last lap, even while he's trying to pass Reagan.
Yeah, David Reagan, another solid run here today. We talked about they had a good run back at Richmond on the short track, but Hamlin going to be able to take this spot now. Both of these drivers are doing an excellent job here today with probably cars that weren't at their very best.
Moves him up to 6. If some of the cars in front of him can't make it, he'll gain a couple more.
So into the final 10 laps we go. Clint Boyer still monitoring his situation as Dave Burns.
He's not been told to save fuel at this point, Alan, but remember what got him here today. Last year's winner, a great setup for this car, something they know how to work with. Secondly, they're not in the chase. The pressure's off, according to their crew chief. They can go for it. And as far as going for it, they can take chances. Remember, Shane told me this morning, they'd be fools if they didn't take chances. So how much of the truth did I get about making it to the end? We'll know here in a few laps. Jamie?
And Brad Keselowski, what a day for this team once again to overcome. Paul Wolf was so stressed out this morning when I talked to him. He said we would be lucky to be a 12th to 15th place car. We just struggle here. We brought a new car, and we just haven't hit on anything. It's been numb. Well, they opted to stay out when everybody else pitted on lap 175, and that got them the track position and a green flag run. After that, they are in the top 5 once again, running fourth, saying they're good on fuel, but keep saving. Alan?
All right, Jamie, thanks. So Keselowski in 4th position right now, trying to get to the finish, and behind him, remember we heard the radio traffic earlier from Jeff Gordon. His crew chief Alan Gustafson saying the exchange between the 2 fuel cans on the pit stop, they didn't apparently get the car full of fuel, and Jeff was told he needed to save gas, and he's faded back now in his 5th position, 11 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, he really had to back things down because he was right there with the 2 leaders that we have right now, Boyer and Stewart, ready to make a run on them.
I tell you, Stewart's the one I'm not sure about. I'm not sure that he hadn't been just stalking this 33. knowing that he can save a little fuel, he might be ready to pounce on him here in these last 5 laps.
Just kind of taking the measure of him, pacing him?
Yeah, I mean, just trying to stay close enough to push him on the fuel issue.
Tony Stewart began the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup with the win at Chicagoland Speedway on Monday. We talked then about would that be what launched them in to a championship bid after, frankly, a season that wasn't as successful as we expected out of Stewart and this team.
He's 6 laps away from getting that win. He's got half of his wins from this track.
In front of him, Boyer, this is what I'm talking about. He's having to use fuel here. He's having to run extremely hard right now, trying to get Bobby Labonte here. So it's not like he can ease around and make all of that happen.
Labonte was trying to stay on the lead lap, 22nd place. He's just gone a lap down. Stewart closing in.
Yeah, it's time for Stewart to go. If he's got anything left, he needs to put it all out there right now.
Ryan Newman on pit road under the green with 5 to go. Bad break for 39. Report from pit road, right front on that 39 car.
I think that might have been a loose wheel. It didn't look like that time was flat.
Driver felt something he didn't like and didn't think he could take for 5 more laps. So 4 laps to go. Clint Boyer out in front of this race, trying to hold off Tony Stewart for the win. All of these drivers thinking they possibly have fuel to the finish, or they possibly don't. A familiar situation in 2011 in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. For Stewart, a win would be 2 for 2 in the chase. For
More laps. 3 to go.
I didn't like the sound of his voice right there. It sounded like it may have stumbled on him.
That was Boyer's radio.
Yeah.
Denny Hamlin looks like he's out of gas.
Oh man, that's a tough break for Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, so, he got to Jeff Gordon's back bumper for that 5th spot right before that happened.
So we've already seen 1 run dry. And Stewart is stalking. Report from pit road. Boyer is questioning whether he's running out of fuel. Here comes Stewart.
Yeah, there it is. He's out.
Stewart to the lead. 2 laps to go.
Now does Tony have enough fuel?
It was this race a year ago. Stewart led coming off turn 4 to the white flag. And he ran out of gas. Is it going to be different this time?
He's got a big lead. He can sit on that. He doesn't have to run very hard.
White flag is up this time. 1 lap to go.
Looks like Brad Keselowski took 2nd away from Greg Biffle.
Final lap in New Hampshire. Watching Tony Stewart to see if he's got enough fuel to make it. The advantage he has, he's up 7 seconds on Keselowski now as other people begin to fade.
Get your around, I got this.
Sounds like he's got plenty of fuel.
So if he was stalking him, he knew just what he was doing. 2 wins in a row to start the chase.
Way to go.
Tony Stewart wins at New Hampshire.
Wow, that's impressive by Tony Stewart and this team. Brad Keselowski, great day.
Greg Biffle out of fuel coming to the checkers.
See if Jeff Gordon can beat him. Nope, looks like Biffle beat Gordon to the line.
But Gordon was able to stretch the gas to get there. Keselowski gets 2nd, Biffle 3rd, Gordon 4th, Brian Vickers comes home 5th. Dale Earnhardt Jr. possibly out of gas coming to the checkers also and got a right front.
Matt Kenseth comes home 6th. What a rebound for him.
Oh, another crazy finish. And Vince, this year at New Hampshire's going to come out a lot better for Darian Grubb, Tony Stewart's crew chief.
Tell you what, they are celebrating here in the 14 box, and Darian, a lot better finish this time than a year ago, huh? How good's that feel?
Feels really good. Way to start the chase here. This awesome team, SHR. Can't say enough for everything that they've done. Starting to chase off with 2 wins, so can't think anything better.
Well, they had a few slip through their hands early in the season, but they have put it together here to start the chase. Back-to-back wins, Alan.
I asked the question, could they get on a roll with the win at Chicagoland into this championship? I'd say yes.
Yeah.
And a good year winning moment for Tony Stewart at New Hampshire Motor Speedway and Tony's team. at that checkered flag and celebrate. Smokes on a roll as we go NASCAR nonstop, presented by Goodyear. Tony Stewart in victory lane for a second week in a row. And certainly going to enjoy this September trip to the New Hampshire Motor Speedway a lot more than he and his team did 12 months ago when leading, coming to the white flag. That 14 cars fuel tank ran dry and Clint Boyer went by to go to victory lane. Today, it was Boyer's fuel tank that ran dry, and Tony Stewart went by him and led the final couple of laps to go 2 for 2 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup.
Had enough fuel to go and do some celebrating afterwards.
And on pit road, as Stewart went into victory lane, the sportsmanship of the handshake from Clint Boyer. So let us head down to Napa Victory Circle and hear from today's winner, Tony Stewart.
Tony Stewart soaking it up. He's the new points leader now with an 8-point advantage and just the second driver to ever open the chase with back-to-back wins. Well, if last week's victory at Chicagoland Speedway gave you guys a shot of confidence, what does this week's win say about this 14 team, Tony?
Well, I mean, we felt like this weekend was a good opportunity off of the spring, so you know, we got 8 long weeks still, man. It's way too early to be counting chickens right now.
You guys had struggled throughout the course of the season during many points. Early in the season, you had some victories slip through your fingers. How frustrating was it during those down times? You ever imagine that you'd be in this position?
Well, we got rid of some dead weight earlier this week, so it's made it a lot easier. So it's been a big weight lifted off our shoulders. Just sometimes you got to make adjustments in your life, and we did that, and it's definitely helped this weekend for sure. And these guys have never quit, man. These guys have never given up, and we got a shot at this thing.
How about the irony of last year's race with you running out of fuel and Clint taking the victory, and then him running out of fuel today and you getting the win?
I know exactly what that feels like. I know exactly how he feels right now. Hey, I saw him slow down the back, and I thought, oh, no, you're kidding me. That's not the way you want to win it, for sure. But, you know, we're in a chase now, and we got to get everything we can get. So, you know, I feel bad for him, and it's fun racing him. I mean, he had the better car at the end there. Our only chance was to catch him in lap traffic, but, you know, head-to-head, he was a little better than we were. So it's hard to lose him that way, but, you know, when we finally got Mobile One in victory lane today, and shows the last 2 weeks we've been good on fuel mileage, and that's how good Mobile One is and how efficient it is. And Office Depot and Goodyear and U.S. Army, Chevrolet, Mack Tools, everybody at Mack, they're awesome. Haas Automation, the Hendrick engine department and chassis department, they're doing an awesome job. So I forgot them last week, and I hate that because they're the reason we're here. So everybody at Stewart Haas Racing, and Tom Tieran, this one's for you, buddy.
Tony Stewart taking care of business today. It's a 7-point lead in the championship now. Dave?
Jeff Gordon's been debriefing with car owners and friends. Jeff, the good news is up 6 positions. You are now 5th in the championship. You led the most laps, got a couple of bonus points. But tell us how staying on pit road for as long as you did changed your day.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating for everybody on this DuPont Chevrolet team. You know, none of us want to put ourselves in that position. You know, it's a bit of a surprise to all of us that I ran out under green. You know, we were expecting to go a couple more laps, so we're making great horsepower. We're not getting good fuel mileage. But Tony, you know, is figuring out a way to do it, so you got to give those guys credit. They got the same engines we have, you know, and we got to do a better job at it. I got to do a better job at it. But at that point, when we ran out, I didn't know I had to save fuel. I thought we were in our window, and we're just going to come in and do a green flag stop. And, you know, gosh, it was just frustrating. We got back out there, and once I got behind guys like Tony, I really was just too tight to pass him anyway. I certainly wasn't expecting to have to conserve as much as we did there. But, hey, to pull off a top 5, that's good. We got what we could out of it. We didn't need to take any chances like we did last week at Chicago. And, you know, all we can do is look at the good side, you know, and that's what we made gains in the points. Not making enough gains on the leaders. That's the only frustrating part.
Two good sides, a recovery in the points, as he said, and a recovery to 4th place today. Jamie?
Brad Keselowski's talking smack on Jeff Gordon, going long-winded there. Finishes second today.
Within one day and see how long he can swim, man. I bet he could be underwater for an hour.
Okay, let's talk about your run today. Jumped up 3 positions in the points, your 3rd, highest ever. Your crew chief was stressed out this morning about your car. Did it get that much better, or was it all strategy?
No, we made some good adjustments with about 120, 130 to go, and drove up into 4th, which I was really proud of our team for that. And still played a little strategy, used the fuel stuff to get up to 2nd, but we were a legitimate top 10 car. Maybe not quite a 2nd place car, but proud of the effort, proud of how we took a track where we were weak at and got a good finish of it. That's what this chase is all about, and my Miller Lite Dodge team, they're getting it done.
Hot streak continues when it counts most. Brad Keselowski second. Doc?
Jimmy Johnson climbing out of his car here in the garage. Jimmy, I know this day had its ups and downs and some frustration there, particularly with 20 to go, and you and Kyle. What was going on with the contact?
Well, I think track position was really important, and he was just racing really hard, which is what he's supposed to do. Typically, the one lane off the bottom is the lane you give someone when they're on the inside of you, and he didn't want to give that lane up. And we just made some contact. It wasn't like he was trying to wreck me or anything. He was just being kind of stubborn and end of a race mentality. And when we got together the second time, I think our wheels locked, and whipped the wheel out of my hand and bent something in the steering up front. But that was just the end of a bad day. I mean, we didn't have a car like we thought we would. We were really optimistic yesterday after practice. The car was just great. Today just didn't have the speed, and then track position was so important, and pit calls didn't work out our way. But we'll take this one on the chin and go on to the next one.
You've been in this position before, with down a little bit at the beginning of a chase, 8 races ago. What's the mindset now for you, maybe winning that 6th title?
You just got to take every race as they come. You never know what's going to happen. And in my experience of winning 5, we lost the points lead due to a wreck on the last lap at Talladega and still came back and won. So anything can happen, but days like this aren't what you hope for sure.
Thanks for your time.
Yep, thank you.
All right, so Jimmy Johnson with an 18th place finish today here at New Hampshire, and we check the championship standings after the 2nd race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup.
Yeah, Jeff Gordon did make a nice move, using that conservative strategy to not run out of fuel. He didn't gain on the leaders, but he did gain 6 spots.
Yeah, just looking at Tony Stewart, the move that they have made here, I don't think any of us could see this coming, but Brad Keselowski, we talked about him possibly getting in this chase the way that they ran, that they could be a sleeper and battle for this championship, and they're right there.
And it's on to Dover for the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Meanwhile, a couple of guys who are not in the championship who had some good finishes today here in New Hampshire with Dave.
Yeah, they sure did, Alan. 5th place, Brian Vickers. I had to look at him for 2 seconds there. And 3rd place, Greg Biffle. Let's start with Greg. Greg, best finishing Roush car here today. It's been a while since that's been the case for you. How'd you get there?
Well, I mean, we ran there the whole day. We were never out of the top 10, and just had a really, really good car, and the guys did a great job in the pits. And I'm finally happy that we just finished a race where we had been running. We run up front. Chicago, we had something, sheet metal brake on the car, and here nothing happened to the car. We finished where we're running 3rd. We ran out of gas and got beat. We were running 2nd, but 2 got by us. But still, just a great day for us. Excited we had Ford 40 MPG on the car. I think it might have helped us a little bit.
Great run for him in 3rd today. And Brian Vickers, who tied his season best with a 5th place, Brian.
Yeah, it was a good run for us. The Red Bull Toyota guys did a good job all day. We were good in the first stint, not great. Over-adjusted, got way too loose the 2nd and 3rd stint, lost our track position. The last 2 runs, we were awesome. The car was so good, probably one of the better cars on the track. But we had to pass 20 cars just to get back to the top 5, and ran out of time. But really proud of the effort by everyone.
It's like they say, you got to work on your stuff to be good, and they did today. Dr. Punch?
Well, Denny Hamlin, trying to get his luck to turn around here, came out of the car, sat on the back of the hauler here, talking to Mike Ford and some of the engineers on the team, and what a frustrating year it has been for Denny Hamlin. Denny, it looked like this was going to be the day that turned it around for you. You guys making a gamble on fuel, and everyone seemed to say on the radio you thought you were good.
Yeah, we thought we were good, and that's just another one. It's strategy racing nowadays, and we just came up short right there. The only thing I can think of is we were a little bit, we were in cleaner racetrack that last run. But that was the worst fuel mileage we got all day, and I was backing my corner up quite a bit. So there's only 2 things, either we weren't getting the fuel mileage we thought, or we didn't get it full, or I just used too much. So we got to work through it, and another tough day for us. But we're just figuring out what we got to do just to be a little more competitive.
Denny Hamlin, no quitting this team. They're going on next week to Dover. Vince.
Earnhart Jr. certainly was a solid day for you guys. You didn't get the finish because of that right front flat, but finished up 17th today. But how encouraging is it to run the way you guys ran 2 weeks in a row?
Well, we want to run like that. We had a great car. We worked really smart all weekend. Second week in a row, we really had a good one and should have finished in the top 10 pretty easily. We had a flat tire, and then we had about 100 laps to go, and then we had another flat tire right there at the end. Just too much camber. We really didn't hit anybody or bang on the wall or anything. Just having a little too much camber gain, getting a little too much travel, and the track did tighten up there at the end to really increase wear on the right front. So it's a shame, but and I'm frustrated. I want to win a race. I would like to win a chase, but I'd like to win a race too. We had a good enough car to do it today, I thought.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. Thanks, Dale. Alan?
All right, Vince, thanks. And Junior and the rest of the drivers in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series going to move down the East Coast a little bit from here in New Hampshire to Dover, Delaware, and the Monster Mile for next Sunday's Race 3 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, ESPN 1 Eastern Time. Then it's out to Kansas Speedway, Charlotte, Talladega, Martinsville, and the rest of the tracks remaining on the schedule for this season. If you'd like to join us at the races, NASCAR.com/tickets. And, well, we had a great crowd joining us here in New Hampshire today, beginning to file out. We're going to have some great racing in these upcoming weeks as we run down through the season finale in South Florida. Tony Stewart, great result today. Talked about that. A couple of other guys to follow up on. Ryan Newman going to wind up finishing 25th in this race, and Flint Boyer going to wind up finishing 26th. And the trend continues. The mileage, the strategy, the doing anything you can do to be up front at the end, and these drivers having to feather-foot it at times to get to the checkered flag.
Yeah, drivers having to do what they can, and crew chiefs pulling their hair out trying to make all of this work and see what they can do. But I think it's just going to show us what to expect for these next 8 races. A lot more of the same thing. Today we saw in the top 10 finishes, 5 guys that are in the chase, 5 that aren't. So I think we're going to see that mix happen a lot more. So the points are going to shuffle quite a bit. Should be fun to watch.
Yeah, these crew chiefs and drivers are pulling their hair out because these are frustrating races. And Jeff Gordon, I thought, used a lot of discipline, his team, and they made a nice rebound from last week.
And so the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series moving on from New Hampshire to another mile track, but a very different one next weekend in Dover, Delaware. And if these strategy races continue to be the norm, Nicole, you could see a lot of points changing hands in the final laps of these races.
Absolutely. The points leader, by the way, at this point in the season has never gone on to win the title. Just an indication of how much things do change as the season progresses. Much more racing to come tonight. It's the AAA Texas NHRA Fall Nationals, 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. NASCAR Now is back at 2:30 Eastern on ESPN2 on Monday for the NASCAR Now Roundtable. And next week, we come your way from Dover. It's the NASCAR Nationwide Series, Saturday at 3 o'clock Eastern. And, of course, next Sunday, race 3 of the chase at 1 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. There's a certain confidence to Tony Stewart right now.
Tony Stewart's got a lot of confidence. He's doing great at saving fuel. He's doing great at winning races. And I got to tell you, I said it wasn't going to be a fuel mileage race today. I was wrong. It was a fuel mileage race again.
What about Tony Stewart? What a racer. Brad Keselowski, great run.
Coming up next, Sports Center with continuing coverage from right here at New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Congrats once again to Tony Stewart. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.